Part 15. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 141. Xu Yanlin didn't know that Li Yuan had moved, and thought he lived in the community near the south gate of the school. So after arriving at the gate of the community, I immediately sent a message to Li Yuan. After seeing the message sent out, she felt very lucky that Li Yuan did not block her. "Senior, I'm downstairs from you, can we meet? Just one side. I know you have a girlfriend, and it may not be appropriate to meet me, but I'm very sorry for you. I want to explain many things to you clearly, and I also want to discuss with you how I should repay you. You must regret meeting me. I hate myself for not living up to expectations and always causing trouble for you. I'm afraid there's no one in the world who is less useful than me. I can't even be a cat. I eat and drink from my seniors and get them into trouble. Senior, I'm sorry." Li Yuan had actually seen Xu Yanlin's message a long time ago, but he didn't want to reply and went to take a shower after video chatting with Zhou Ranran. Moreover, today's shower took longer than before. It took half an hour to get out. After soaking in the bathtub for a long time and sweating profusely, I felt much more relaxed. Damn it, that Anna Shen is not a human being. Use this trick when you come up. Zhou Ranran has been back to his hometown for 7 days. At this time, he still has withdrawal reactions and almost died from drug treatment today. If it were Zhang Yuling and Song Jiajia, he wouldn't be able to bear it. No, cross out Song Jiajia. Zhang Yuling can do it. I took the phone and found that it was already 11 o'clock. Xu Yanlin sent more than 40 messages, but the last message stopped 10 minutes ago. The reason why he doesn't want to talk is simple, that is, it would be more uncomfortable to talk. It's impossible to let him watch her breasts on video like Zhou Ranran, right? That can exacerbate toxic episodes. You can reply now that you have calmed down. I don't live there anymore. You should go back to school quickly. It's very close to the school. Even if you walk, you can go back in about 20 minutes. There's still half an hour before the school lights out, so there's still time. After a few minutes, Xu Yanlin did not reply. Li Yuan continued, "You don't need to bear the responsibility for the mistakes made by others. I will play with you again after you finish your military training." After a few more minutes, Li Yuan felt that Xu Yanlin might have gone back. After all, the consequences of staying out at night during military training are serious. But soon, he felt something was wrong. Xu Yanlin is someone who plans to confess her love at the freshman ceremony. Does she care about the consequences? Being able to apply for Zhangzhou University with more than 700 points already speaks for itself. She is not rational. He called Xu Yanlin, and the beep showed that the phone had been turned off. Is the phone out of battery? Then she should go back to the dormitory to recharge. More than 20 minutes have passed since the last message she sent. Not back yet? He waited for a few more minutes, and after realizing that he had not received the message, he immediately called Zhang Yuling. The call was quickly connected, and Zhang Yuling sounded anxious as he said, "I've lost a student here and I'm looking for him. I'll call you back later." Xu Yanlin. "Yes, how do you know?" "I'm going to find her." Don't rush to make excuses saying she's not feeling well and went out. "I'll call you when I find her." After Li Yuan finished speaking, he put on his slippers and went out. According to Xu Yanlin, she was downstairs in the community where she lived before, so Li Yuan drove over there without saying a word. You can imagine how troublesome it is to fall in love with a little girl. What Li Yuan is most afraid of now is that if Xu Yanlin leaves the community and her phone is turned off, who knows what she will do. Damn Anna Shen, Shen Tianfu, and Xu Yanlin's parents, just caught one person bullying. 10 minutes later, the car entered the community. As the car lights came on inside the garage, he slowly found his previous parking space. At this moment, a girl wearing military training uniforms, sitting next to the parking space, leaning against a pillar and holding her knees with her hands, appeared in the area illuminated by the car lights. Li Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. As long as you don't run around. He stopped the car and walked over. No one wants it, right? If no one wants it, just come with me. Xu Yanlin heard a voice. And this voice was extremely familiar to her. She raised her head for the first time, and then suddenly became overwhelmed. What are you doing standing around? It's very hot in the garage. If you don't leave, I will leave. I just took a shower and started sweating after getting off the car. Xu Yanlin quickly got up, walked to Li Yuan, lowered her head and said, Senior, I'm sorry. You talk about this stuff all day long. You were born to say sorry, right? I am. You are what I say you are. You are awesome. Get in the car quickly. Li Yuan didn't know what to say. Xu Yanlin was still the same as before, except for a little bit of resistance to her family. Soon, Li Yuan drove the car out of the garage and arrived at the south gate of Zhangzhou University. He said to Xu Yanlin, We're at the school gate. Go back quickly. The time is just right. The lights in the dormitory are turned off at 11:30 and the door is locked at 12 o'clock. It's almost 11:40 now. Xu Yanlin shook her head and said, I don't want to go back. I want to say a few words to the seniors one last time. Finally. What kind of last resort? I owe my senior so much, and I will work hard to repay it in the future. I used the 10 million to invest in a fund, and earned more than 8 million. However, my uncle took away the 10 million, and there are still 800 left. There are more than 10 million in the account. I will withdraw all of it on Monday and return it to the senior first. I have thought about the remaining 10 million and can go back to repeat studies and try to get into Qingbei. The reward money will be there for me after college. You can work part-time, and I promise to pay back the 10 million. I also don't know how to solve the trouble it brings to my seniors. As long as my seniors say, no matter what I do, I will definitely agree. If it doesn't work out, my senior could just beat me up to vent my anger, or sell me to a black coal mine and let me work to pay off my debts. Li Yuan stepped on the accelerator and drove towards the distance. At the same time, he said, if you can make money by going to a black coal mine, can you still call it a black coal mine? Then, anything else is fine. Are you out of your mind? Let me, a man worth billions, engage in illegal and criminal business. I'm not, I can do it myself, but I can't find those people. I can't even find it. Xu Yanlin couldn't think of any other solutions. She had very little knowledge in this area. Li Yuan said, I know that you have more than 8 million left in my company's fund. If you leave it for a while, you can collect 10 million and return it to me. From now on, we will be settled. Xu Yanlin's glasses widened. In fact, she was even more panicked than before. No, that would be unfair to seniors. The money is yours, and all the profits are yours as well. Then if someone else checks it out, good guy, I actually bought my own fund. You want me to go to jail, right? In fact, fund managers can buy their own funds, and even family members can buy funds that they manage. But Li Yuan believed that Xu Yanlin didn't understand this yet. Xu Yanlin didn't dare to answer. She found that she was useless. Li Yuan had given her a chance, but she couldn't even grasp it. After talking for a long time, there was no feasible solution. At this time, Li Yuan drove into another community. After parking the car in the garage, he said, Come down. Xu Yanlin put her hands in front of her and followed Li Yuan with her head lowered. The elevator stopped after dozens of seconds. Then Li Yuan opened a door, and Xu Yanlin knew that Li Yuan no longer lived there. The houses here are bigger and the community environment is better. Senior, I can't think of any good ideas. You are so powerful. You must have a better idea. As long as you say it, I will definitely do it. What the hell? Go take a shower first. Li Yuan pushed her directly into the bathroom. He said, hurry up and wash your clothes. You smell like sweat. I'll go find you a change of clothes. After Li Yuan closed the door, he came to the place where Zhou Ranran lived before. He originally thought that Zhou Ranran would have 1 or 2 sets of women's clothes left. Finally, when I opened the closet, I found that it was as clean as if my home had been robbed. Not to mention a piece of women's clothing, not even a button or a thread of wool was left. Is he afraid that if he brings his girlfriend back, he will find that there is another woman living at home? There are no sheets or quilts at all. No choice. Li Yuan could only go back to his room. He has a lot of clothes, which Zhou Ranran bought for him during this period. There are various styles, such as a large t-shirt inside. He can wear it up to his thighs. I've never worn it before, so I took off the nameplate and made some gestures. It seems about the same. It just so happened that the lower body was saved. So he took out a chair and placed it at the bathroom door. He said to the inside, I can't find women's clothes here, so you can make do with my t-shirt first. In addition, put all your clothes on the chair. I will take them to you for washing later. Tomorrow morning can wear. After saying this, he took the sheets and quilts from his room and spread them in Zhou Ranran's room. Immediately afterwards, he called Zhang Yuling. I have found Xu Yanlin. She is not feeling well and is in the hospital. Please ask Teacher Zhang for a leave. She will go back to normal military training tomorrow morning. On the other side of the phone, Zhang Yuling said, really found her? Where is she? In the hospital. Then let her say a word to me. It's not convenient for her right now. I'll charge her phone later and ask her to get back to you. What is your relationship with Xu Yanlin? It's a classmate relationship, doesn't it look like it? If he were at the scene, Zhang Yuling would definitely give Li Yuan a roll of his eyes. Classmate relationship? You can't contact anyone in the middle of the night, but you can find someone? Let me tell you, she is number 1 in our school. Whether it is the college or the school, she takes it very seriously. If you dare to mess around, be careful of me. What are you doing? You know it yourself. Teacher Zhang, please be kind. I don't care. My innocence is worthless and I am shameless. It doesn't matter. What do you think of a little girl when you say this? You. Dirty thinking. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he hung up the phone. When dealing with Zhang Yuling, he always cared about killing and not burying him. She went to the bathroom door to get Xu Yanlin's clothes and threw them into the washing machine. When he washes clothes, he never sorts them. Socks and underwear, as long as the washing machine can fit them, will be stuffed in at once. If it can't fit, divide it into 2 parts. He was already a little sleepy and sat on the sofa, a little listless. I don't know how much time passed before Xu Yanlin came out of the bathroom. Wearing a big t-shirt is just like wearing a short skirt. Only. The t-shirt was clearly uniform underneath, but when it was worn on Xu Yanlin, the front was suddenly much shorter than the back. Li Yuan stood up and took a look. Xu Yanlin's hair was still wet, and the scent of shower gel on her body smelled very comfortable. Of course, it has nothing to do with the shower gel itself. He uses it all day long, so he doesn't feel this way. What matters is a chemical reaction. Just like when a rich person wears a $10 t-shirt, some people think he has an extraordinary temperament. It's not the shower gel that smells good, it's the person himself. The fair face and the clear eyes. There is no other way to describe it, and it would be illegal to describe it. Li Yuan said, the room on the left side of the bathroom has been cleaned up for you. You will stay there tonight. I will take you to school at 6 in the morning. After saying that, he stood up, took out the clothes from the washing machine to dry, and turned on the dryer. Just as she was about to go to the bedroom, Xu Yanlin suddenly said, "Senior, can I sleep with you?" "What? You want me to charge you some interest?" "Not me. That's all right, we haven't reached that point yet." Li Yuan waved his hand and returned to his room. Xu Yanlin didn't know much about love, and she watched a certain Mary Sue drama and was moved by herself. Just as he entered the room, Xu Yanlin followed. He hugged Li Yuan's waist directly from behind. Then he put his face against Li Yuan's back and shouted softly, "Senior." Li Yuan was attracted not by the sound, but by the touch on his back. It immediately cheered him up. Is it not fashionable to speak politely now? Use weapons of mass destruction when the epidemic becomes popular? He turned around, and Xu Yanlin also threw herself into his arms. It's even more lethal. Slowly, Xu Yanlin moved her arms to his neck, and then stood on her toes. Seductive lips, so close. Li Yuan covered it without hesitation. Only then did he realize how right Zhou Ranran was to not leave women's clothes behind. Otherwise, I don't know how long it will take to untie the straps on women's clothes. The t-shirt is simply too beautiful. Xu Yanlin seemed to be trying her best to learn something, but she clearly didn't understand anything. This resulted in her performance being a little exaggerated. Too enthusiastic. Just wait a moment, I'll make a call. Li Yuan temporarily let go of Xu Yanlin. Xu Yanlin lowered her head shyly and sat aside. Li Yuan took out his mobile phone and found Zhang Yuling's number again. "Teacher Zhang, I want to ask for leave for Xu Yanlin." Yes, her condition has worsened. Please help me ask for a day off. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 142. Song Jiajia and Li Yuan came to Zhujia Noodle House in person. Gu Dongsheng was making some opening remarks, but today was different from usual. From the extremely luxurious style, it has changed to ordinary. Just like an old friend, he briefly told some of his stories to arouse others' interest. Immediately afterwards, he walked into the noodle shop and formally contacted the proprietress. Song Jiajia's eyes were a little red, and when she saw Li Yuan next to her, she didn't seem to feel anything at all. Asked, "Junior, are you sure this script of yours is not adapted from real events?" "Ah? What real incident?" Li Yuan was stunned. Song Jiajia, without personal experience, how could it be possible to write the details so well? How could the character settings be so perfect? Girls have a crush on them, boys like them. One becomes famous, gets admitted to college, and opens a glorious chapter in life, while the other a person who is in the darkest moment of her life is so embarrassed even when she sees the person she likes. She probably doesn't want Gu Dongsheng to see her like this. Li Yuan. Senior, we are acting. Oh. Even though she said this, Song Jiajia still seemed to be attracted by the scene. Li Yuan felt that things should be done. It's just that Song Jiajia is always attracted to inexplicable things, which is not good. Li Yuan has written as many as 800 scripts, if not 1,000. Selecting a few highlights will definitely create 1 or 2 hot searches. Song Jiajia suddenly looked at what Li Yuan was holding and asked, "Junior, why are you buying women's clothes? How did you tell?" Li Yuan even changed the bag to a black one, with only the nameplate leaking out. Anyway, he couldn't tell anything from the nameplate. "A brand I have never heard of." Song Jiajia rolled her eyes and said, "I'm wearing that brand, but Junior, this brand's sizes are usually larger. Without my height and figure, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to fit into this size. You should be able to wear 165, right?" Li Yuan didn't know what Xu Yanlin was wearing, so he just bought it based on his feeling. It's far behind. If you don't have 170, don't even think about wearing it. If you want to wear 165, how big of a bust do you have to have? Wen Yuxian must be a little bit worse. Junior, please go back and change to a smaller size. Li Yuan breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. He measured it with his own hands. How could he be wrong? The man's touch has always been terrifyingly precise. Okay, I'll go change it and leave it to my senior sister. After the video is cut out, it will be posted next Friday. Oh, go ahead, go buy something for your girlfriend in the future, and you can ask me if you don't understand anything. Okay. Li Yuan glanced at the time, it was already past 10 o'clock, and hurriedly drove home. All in all, thank you to Anna Shen for what happened last night. It was Anna Shen who sped up the process, otherwise she would have to wait at least until Xu Yanlin finished her military training before she would have a chance. When he got home and opened the bedroom door, Xu Yanlin was still asleep on the bed. Lying sideways, with a peaceful face, he slept soundly. Li Yuan put down his things, lay next to her, and put his hand into the quilt. The feeling of satisfaction is like that of a rock climber grasping a boulder. While others were still climbing up through the cracks in the rocks, he could even hang himself on 2 boulders to rest. What the ancients said about having the world in mind is nothing more than this. Because the satisfaction of mastery is indeed like owning the whole world. Xu Yanlin seemed to notice something and murmured. Then he turned over and came face to face with Li Yuan. Li Yuan rubbed her tender face, and his fatigue was reduced a lot. He has read a survey and found that almost most people have a disease called skin hunger syndrome. The best way to relieve the symptom is to have contact with the opposite sex with particularly good skin. Of course, the same goes for kids. Why do so many people like to kiss children? It's because children's skin is so tender. No one can resist pinching a child's face. It's like eating when you're hungry, with no other thoughts. Xu Yanlin put her arms around Li Yuan, and then arched her head into Li Yuan's arms, like a kitten. When he didn't know her identity at first, Li Yuan did have some ideas. Later, the more I got to know her, the less I wanted to get close to Xu Yanlin. None of her parents or relatives were easy to get along with. If she doesn't take the initiative, then Li Yuan will most likely start a relationship again after finishing this busy period. Senior. Can we still be like before? No more. Oh. Xu Yanlin looked a little disappointed. Li Yuan helped her do her hair. After all, we are not children anymore. We will work hard to have the opportunity to get married in 3 years. Xu Yanlin opened her eyes immediately. But isn't the senior and Wen Yuxian? She and I belong to the hype, just like boyfriends and girlfriends in the entertainment industry. In fact, we live our own lives. After all, I have no background. When the company has developed to this stage, it will inevitably encounter some bottlenecks. When Yuxian and I are considered everyone gets what they need, I need her fame to drive sales of the company's funds, and she needs to change her personality with me so that her fans can exceed tens of millions. Xu Yanlin's eyelashes seemed to be happy, fluttering. The appearance of Wen Yuxian broke the beautiful fantasy she had always had. She thought she owed Li Yuan so much, and Li Yuan would definitely not let her go. He would definitely take her home to get married and have children in the future. On the day she went to school to report, she had already gotten the answer from Anna Shen, but she didn't have time to do it because the military training was coming. As a result, the next day, I saw a photo of Li Yuan and Wen Yuxian together, as well as the fact that Wen Yuxian admitted it personally at the class meeting. She is actually very timid and hesitates to do many things. Just 10 minutes ago, when Li Yuan hadn't said that Wen Yuxian and him were promoting things, Xu Yanlin wanted to be a coward and never think about love again in her life. But in the end I couldn't help but ask. Maybe he wants to give up completely. The result was an unexpected reply. Maybe, you should be more proactive in life. Otherwise, if you never dare to face this matter, you will never know how close you are to success. Li Yuan should do anything for his career. If you can't help him and cause trouble for him, how could he be willing to marry you? Senior, I know what to do. From now on in school, I will pretend that I don't know you. I know this will make you angry, so you can teach me a lesson when we meet in private. How to teach me a lesson? Well, just like last night. Huh? I forgot. Can you demonstrate it to me? Well, then please cooperate with me, senior. Xu Yanlin is like a novice driver on the road. Accidentally forget to release the handbrake. It often fails to shift into gear. Finally, I tried it bit by bit with my hands, and finally put it into gear. With a little injection of engine oil, the car rushed out. She also couldn't control the speed of the car well. She only knew how to step on the accelerator, take a rest when she was tired, and then continue with her previous habits after she regained her composure. It goes on and on like this, and the speed never increases. She was a newbie after all, as stated before. Li Yuan also understood. Seeing that she was almost late for lunch, she decisively took over the steering wheel of Xu Yanlin, pulled up the gear, applied a large amount of gas, and the speed of the car soared. After driving at extreme speed for 5 or 6 minutes, we finally reached the finish line before 12 o'clock and caught up with the dinner. Both of them had a great appetite for lunch. Xu Yanlin didn't eat breakfast. Li Yuan temporarily took over the steering wheel because Xu Yanlin slowed down the progress and was more tired than usual driving. After eating, Xu Yanlin tried on the clothes Li Yuan bought for her, and found that they fit relatively well. Military training clothes are not easy to wear. I will change them when I go back to school tomorrow. Senior, I want to go back to that apartment. After resting for a while, Xu Yanlin said to Li Yuan. Then let me see you off. I happen to have something to do later. I don't care about your business. It has nothing to do with me no matter how far you go. Well, I know, good is good, bad is bad, I can tell the difference. Take it away. Li Yuan helped Xu Yanlin. Half an hour later, he drove away from the apartment downstairs and came directly to the company. The fact that Shen Tianfu could allow Anna Shen to use this trick showed that this guy was already crazy. Being able to even play this kind of card means that he has given up on his bottom line. For private equity, what can make him lower his bottom line? He was in a lot of trouble and may even have received death threats from investors. Even if he loses hundreds of millions, more than 10 or 2 billion, as long as he does things honestly, he will generally not encounter death threats so quickly. After all, except for this period of time, he had always done well before. No matter how harsh those investors are, they will not kill him just because he makes a big mistake. Unless he committed suicide himself. For example, if you want to run away, those investors will definitely not tolerate this kind of thing happening. They want to run away after losing billions. Gotta save my life. Regarding Tianchuan shares, Shen Tianfu has no ability to make a comeback. He carefully reviewed Tianchuan shares. After all, he hadn't looked at them in detail in the past few days. He decided to beat Shen Tianfu to death completely. And if you want him to die completely, you must let him put the last chip in his hand on the line. As a desperate gambler, as long as you give him some sweetness, he will rush forward without hesitation. This is a conspiracy. Moreover, Li Yuan also wanted to get some quantitative funds. In fact, the concept of quantification appeared very early, but it has only matured a little bit in the past 2 years. Just a little bit. The advantage of quantitative funds is that the chip analysis is very accurate, and the trading procedures set by the program are also very strict. These advantages sometimes become fatal shortcomings. There are also many quantitative funds that have lost everything. Especially in the past few years, quantitative funds have been harvested in various ways. Things have gotten better in the past 2 years. Quantitative funds occasionally make mistakes, but the mistakes they make are not big. If you want to cut quantitative funds, you must take the initiative. The quantitative procedure changes at any time. It is necessary to first deduce the point at which quantitative funds change, and then act decisively at this point to catch the quantitative funds by surprise. If the market changes in advance, quantitative funds will not be able to react. Li Yuan couldn't analyze the specific figures, but in this week, at least more than 2 billion in quantitative funds were invested, which is definitely indispensable. If it falls below the limit on Monday, it will be an opportunity for him. Even if Tianchuan shares are worthless, there is no point in the stock price falling to 1 yuan. But he only needs to have an opponent. This is enough, and the funds from the opponent will continue to pour in. His opponent is Quantification, which is the heavy positioning institution represented by Shen Tianfu. Xu Yanlin has been caring about cats since she came back. Next to her, Anna Shen felt terrified. She knew Xu Yanlin too well and knew that Xu Yanlin's silence meant she was extremely angry. So she said, "Linlin, what I did yesterday was wrong. I have no choice. My father requires me to talk to Li Yuan. Then you can tell me and I can help you contact your senior. If he knew it was me who wanted to see me, he would definitely not give me a chance. Then you have to sacrifice me? Do you know that what senior hates the most is people who lie to him? I almost became a sinner, and I almost couldn't see him at all." It was the first time Xu Yanlin said such strong words in front of Anna Shen. Because if she doesn't get angry, something like this will happen again in the future. "Sorry." Anna Shen lowered her head and apologized sincerely. Xu Yanlin breathed a sigh of relief. Because of some things, she was still very grateful to Anna Shen for her help. So from beginning to end, even if Li Yuan knew the truth, she did not put the responsibility on Anna Shen. "Cousin, you and I know very well who my uncle is. He only has interests in his eyes, and whatever she asks you to do will only be for interests. I don't understand anything else, but I know who he lets you come into contact with. Who do you want to hurt? I know, but I have no choice. I can't just watch Tianfu Capital collapse. I will always try my best. When I take charge of Tianfu Capital in the future, I will compensate you well." Xu Yanlin said, "Cousin, I don't understand your business, and I can't get involved. But I believe that you can never repair the wound by compensating for it after hurting someone." "Well, I understand. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first." Anna Shen didn't want to stay here and continue to listen to Xu Yanlin's preaching. Because even if she knew it was true, she couldn't change anything. She could only do as asked. You have to protect your status first before you can talk about the future. Otherwise, she will be like a phoenix on the ground, and she may not be able to get the food even if she competes with the chicken. If Tianfu Capital collapses, she will not end well. So if she knows it will hurt others, she will do it. She thinks there's nothing wrong with being selfish to yourself. If a friend's interests are lost, they are lost. If you give yourself a chance to make up for it in the future, make up for it. If you don't give yourself a chance to make amends, find another friend. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 143. On Saturday night, Li Yuan picked up Xu Yanlin and had dinner together. Originally, Gu Dongsheng was leaving tomorrow. He said he was going to treat him tonight, but he didn't go even if he was called over. After all, Xu Yanlin had to go back to military training tomorrow, so she was embarrassed to ask Zhang Yuling for leave again. Senior, what's going on in your freshman year? I failed too many classes last semester. I had to repeat the grade, but I have a good relationship with teacher Zhang, so I kept my status as a sophomore, but I have to retake the freshman courses. Oh, will there be a conflict? You have to take exams for both grades, there will always be collisions, right? There's nothing you can do about it if you hit it. When the time comes, whichever one has less credits will be given up. Xu Yanlin already had a plan in mind. I am a freshman, so I am not afraid of failing the class. When Li Yuan gets 1 or 2 exams, she can write Li Yuan's student ID information on her test paper, treat it as if she missed the exam, and come to school to make up the exam before the start of the next semester. Eat dinner, play second base. A relaxing and happy Saturday passed just like that. Early on Sunday morning, Li Yuan sent Xu Yanlin to the school gate, while he went home to catch up on his sleep. After all, they have said that 1 drop of blood x 3 drops of blood, he must hide in the spring water to regain his condition today, otherwise if the enemy in the grass makes a sneak attack again, he will be easily killed. That would be so embarrassing. You need to start recovering your blood every day, and don't waste your blood when it's left. Everything is restored to its previous state. He rarely chats with Xu Yanlin, it's basically a matter of fate. It's not like being together, there's no need to look at the fate, it's always been great. On the internet, the matter between him and Wen Yuxian began to ferment. Many of Wen Yuxian's fans didn't know who he was before, but with the popularization by insiders, his number of fans increased by more than 1 million in just a few days. Many fans of Wen Yuxian have always felt that Li Yuan was not worthy of Wen Yuxian. Now I know that it is Wen Yuxian from their family who has reached the top. The 19-year-old financial genius is in charge of a fund manager with a scale of more than 30 billion, and through verification, the entire Qingtian capital belongs to him. The registered capital is 1 billion, paid in. Net worth increased by 89 points in 3 weeks. According to the current scale, the annual management fee is more than 700 million. There are also such high subscription fees, and you can easily earn more than 1 billion a year. Li Yuan's wife fan group has appeared. And it's no surprise that Song Jiajia's previous doubts were also clarified on the internet where news is everywhere. In the office of Jushin Media, Song Jiajia looked at Li Yuan's account with more than 4 million fans, then looked at the official website of Qingtian Capital, and looked at the photo in the column of Qingtian Mixed Small and Medium Cap Fund Manager. She always thought that Li Yuan was a poor college student starting his own business. So I didn't get a penny of salary for 3 whole months, and my living expenses depended entirely on the pocket money and scholarships I had saved. Suddenly she was told that Li Yuan was actually a billionaire? Look at Li Yuan's account. In just over 2 months, the actual stock price increased from 45,000 to 10 million. Looking at Qingtian Mixed Small and Medium Caps, the net value increased by nearly 90 points in 15 trading days. How could such an outrageous thing happen in the world? She doesn't know much about finance, but she knows what a worth of billions means. She always thought that Jushin Media was very powerful. It was succeeding every day and growing in scale. If this momentum continues, it will definitely be worth more than 1 billion in 2 years. Then it's almost ready to go on the market. This is what she considers to be the entrepreneurial ceiling. For ordinary people to start a business, this is almost the limit. They cannot obtain large capital financing or the network resources behind them, and there is no hope of breaking through tens of billions. However, Li Yuan's business had a capital scale of more than 30 billion in less than a month. In her opinion, Jushin Media, which was the ceiling, was just a small project for Li Yuan to play around with. This gap is driving people crazy. Even if Jushin Media is successfully listed in the future, it doesn't seem to be a big deal. There is no sense of achievement at all. After thinking about it, she decided to withdraw. After all, Her goal is to prove to her family that she is capable of doing something great. But now, it makes sense that Jushin Media will become more powerful in the future. If something goes wrong, it's because she, the general manager, didn't do a good job. It's completely meaningless. At this moment, her cell phone rang. Seeing the number, she reluctantly picked it up. A smiling middle-aged man's voice came from inside. "My dear daughter, how is your entrepreneurial project going? If it doesn't work, don't hold on to it. The pig farm at home will go on the market tomorrow. You go home and stay for a few days. By then, I'll give you some shares, pay dividends for a few years, and save some dowry, so you can get married. Is it going on the market so soon?" When Song Jiajia left home a few months ago, this matter had not yet occurred. "I just said that I have been applying, but no one is willing to accept it." Her family is quite ordinary. There are probably more than 30 pig farms. They are basically modern pig farms. Each pig farm can automatically raise 30,000 pigs. Generally, pigs are slaughtered every 4 or 5 months, and each pig farm produces 75,000 pigs a year. There is still a gap between Makinoko Limited's annual slaughter of 7 to 8 million head, but it can still be regarded as the middle echelon. That's right, don't you even read our news? Oh, congratulations Dad, do I have a red envelope? Although Song Jiajia feels that she has no meaning in Jushin Media, she still wants to stick to it for 2 months. She plans to wait for Li Yuan to have some free time, let him find a new general manager, and hand over the company's responsibilities to him. "You'll have it when you come back." All the money from this IPO was invested in the company, but before it went public, more than 50 million was distributed as dividends. "Your grandma has a lot of pocket money. If you don't come back, the money will be lost. You are going to be coaxed away by your cousins." Song Jiajia. She does have a large family. Her grandparents have 6 children, all of whom are boys. This resulted in her having many uncles, and the total number of cousins was almost 20. "I'll go back in 2 months. When I finish the work at hand, although I won't make any money, it won't have much prospects for me, but I want to have a beginning and an end." Hey, what's the use of your crappy job? It's not that I doubt your ability, but the current environment is not good. Young people start businesses, they need money but no money, and they need people but no one. You know our pig farm after going public, no matter how many connections we have relied on and how many people we have found, we still have no capital and are willing to underwrite it. If the price of pork had not risen recently, people would look down on our company. Ah! What's going on? You don't have the capital to take a fancy to us. We're neither good nor bad, and the pig farmers don't have financial related connections. The reason for our recent success is that several brokerages felt that the topic of pork might become popular as the price of pork increased, so they gave us financing. 800 million. What does listing have to do with capital? Can't it be enough if we meet the conditions? The relationship is getting serious. If we don't have capital to support us, we will have to break the stock if we go public. All of them are retail investors' stocks, and no one wants to touch them. The boy I introduced to you before has good connections in the capital circle. It's a pity that you didn't agree. From now on, I just listen to what my family says. In fact, Song Jiajia feels that her family treats her very well. Although she is very much needed to do something, they may not force her to do it as long as she doesn't want to. I had talked with that boy before. On the one hand, she was preparing for graduation, and on the other hand, she didn't want to get married, so she finally refused. He's quite handsome. I don't know much about anything else, and I didn't talk about it in detail at all. The person on the phone was obviously surprised. Have you been severely beaten by reality? Are you actually so aware? Ang, that's right. I just feel that success is not an accident. It should be regarded as an inevitable thing. Haha, if you have this kind of awareness, the hardships of these few months will not be in vain. Come back as soon as possible. Outside we are just little brats, but when we get to the county town, our family still has some say. If you want to, starting a business will also be easier. Well, okay, I'll go back after finishing what I'm doing. On Monday, Li Yuan came to the company. As soon as the market opens, there will be a lot of things going on. But before the market opened, he was still very leisurely. Yu would sort out some of the news from the past few days for him and put it on his desk, both electronic and paper. Zishui County's first listed company passed its IPO, Song's shares and pork stocks are facing big challenges. Li Yuan took a look. The news itself was not interesting, but some data would be listed in it, including the entire IPO process and company structure. After just one glance, Li Yuan lost interest. Song's shares is a typical family group, with an IPO of RMB 2.4 billion, and securities companies raised 800 million, which together account for 40% of the total equity, which means the company has a market value of 8 billion. The annual output value of Song's shares is around 2.6 billion, and the net profit fluctuates. Last year, the price of live pigs was good, and the net profit was 400 million. The market was not good in the first half of this year, and the market started to go up in the second half of the year, which may be about the same. Strictly speaking, Song's shares are not short of money. Why go public if you don't lack money? I was fooled by capital. Li Yuan can be sure that Song's shares will definitely encounter big problems and will be completely beaten by the capital market. Once the company's operations run into trouble in a few years, the entire company is not far from bankruptcy. With such a healthy cash flow now, going public is simply a waste of your biggest advantage. What can you do with the little money from the IPO? They also gave 800 million in securities lending, and these 800 million could kill them. Without the support of large funds and insufficient respect for the market, we will be the next Tianchuan shares. Even worse than Tianchuan shares. The bosses of Tianchuan shares probably tried their best to follow the capital and run away. Song's headquarters, a family-owned company, may follow the capital and run away. At around 9 o'clock, he arrived at the trading room. Today there are more new funds entering the market, approaching 1 billion. Maybe it was because of the hype between him and Wen Yuxian. However, Li Yuan does not need funds at the moment. At most, applications will be accepted this week. Next week, the subscription amount will either be lowered or the subscription channel will be closed directly. It mainly depends on the trend this week. If it reaches 40 billion, he will close the subscription channel. If it cannot reach 40 billion, he will lower the subscription amount. Before I knew it, it was open. After Li Yuan arranged it for a while, he looked at Tianchuan shares. The limit fell, and orders were closed for 300 million yuan. The closing order last Friday was 500 million. It shows that the quantitative risk has been estimated, and now we dare not place too many short orders. A small order to buy Tianchuan shares, no more than 500,000, the target is 6 million. He gave an order. First try to quantify the reaction of funds. If the reaction is fast, then withdraw yourself. 6 million is a very small amount of money. If you can even detect this, it means there is no chance of operation. This quantitative setting is a bit too sensitive. But there is a high probability that it won't. The settings are so extreme, which means you won't make much money, and you won't continue to make money until now. After buying, Li Yuan saw that there was no problem, and later issued an order, sweep the goods directly upwards for 700 million. If you can't buy it, just wait. If the 700 million yuan is not able to pull the market, it means that Shen Tianfu and others would rather lose money than ship. Then there would be nothing fun, and Li Yuan could only wait for the opportunity to sell out tomorrow during the quantitative fundraising. He only has 700 million, and he almost entered the market at the lowest point today. He dare not say that he made money, and he certainly didn't lose much. The purpose of pulling the market in advance is to clear away the floating chips on the market today. If the pulling is completed, those floating chips will be quantified tomorrow, which will affect your layout. Tomorrow I will definitely be ahead of myself in quantification, there is nothing I can do about it. But today, he is definitely ahead in quantification. Almost instantly, the quantitative chips were swallowed up in one gulp, and they didn't even have time to cancel the order, even though the program's response was extremely fast. Then, one day, there was a strong positive line, and onions were pulled out on dry land. Tianchuan shares were forced to reach the daily limit, and there was still 300 million in closing funds. Some scattered chips began to come out one after another, and they were all caught by Li Yuan. No matter what, it is impossible for there to be no retail investors at all. In the past few days, there have been a lot of speculative funds as it has dropped below the limit. Li Yuan's remaining 300 million was prepared for them. If it doesn't come out today, it certainly won't come out tomorrow. Because tomorrow he will directly take the lead. The cost of sealing the board tomorrow will be even lower. As long as Shen Tianfu and the others don't smash it, they can seal it with a few million. They can just spend 200 million to show off. Anyway, he won't get any chips except today. It is not a good thing to get chips later. With the closure of Tianchuan shares, what Li Yuan can do is over. Next, he loses the initiative and depends on other people's faces. Shen Tianfu has long known about Shen Anna's failure, and today's opening is a kind of trial for him. Everything in Tianfu capital will be washed away in blood today. But the sudden change of circumstances allowed him to see the light in his despair. Who can be the one who can try his best to pull the strings at this time? Except Li Yuan. The risk of pulling the trigger today is very high, because in theory it is possible for quantitative financiers to continue to sell securities, and Tianchuan shares still have more than 1 billion in securities loans. No one knows whether quantitative will take all the securities lending, and whoever takes over will be buried. Unless sufficient funds are prepared. Li Yuan was so lucky today. Quantitative was actually timid and did not continue to borrow money to hit him. Last Thursday and Friday, they were hit hard by securities lending. Of course, it seems that although Anna Shen was not successful, it was effective, otherwise Li Yuan would not be so helpful. After the market closes, praise them. And Li Yuan, it was similar to what he thought. No matter how powerful a person was, he couldn't escape from a woman. Anna Shen exists specifically to attack people like him. I will hold a meeting with several private equity investors tonight. No matter what, even if we mobilize the last bit of cash, we must hold on to the stock price. No opening of the market will be allowed in the next 2 weeks. Don't let quantification get away with it. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 144. Shen Tianfu met with several private equity investors. But Lu Shangyuan was not seen. No one knows what Lu Shangyuan did. At this time, everyone is in trouble and will not consider Lu Shangyuan's affairs. Shen Tianfu, what happened today? What else could happen? Of course, I paid a huge price and invited experts to help us break the situation. They accurately found the weakness of quantitative and ate up 200 million floating chips today. Quantitative will not be able to get the chips tomorrow. For us, we have to turn from defense to offense. Shen Tianfu couldn't tell Li Yuan, anyway, the credit was Shen Anna's. Anna Shen's achievements are no different from his. Someone else said, what if the quantification continues to smash tomorrow? We can't spend so much money to undertake it, and we will still be smashed. We just have to do our best, and in the end we will spend 1 billion, and leave the rest to others. This time we must start with 10 steps, and it is also our last chance. There is no room for 10 boards, and they have so many chips that they simply cannot throw them away. To quantify how much they can pick up, it depends on how many boards they can pull. If we can pull 10 boards, we will have to use more than 4 billion in funds to repay the 2 billion in securities lending, resulting in a net loss of more than 2 billion. Only the higher they pull, the greater their hope of getting back their money. So no matter what Li Yuan did, they had to maximize the funds they could use. Maybe this was drinking poison to quench his thirst, but Shen Tianfu also had to convince others that he had the antidote. Otherwise he will die at any time. At this time, Li Yuan was also in the company and welcomed an uninvited guest. Lu Shangyuan. Lu Shangyuan came here to borrow the Lianying technology stocks held by Qingtian Capital. Today is the 12th consecutive day of Lianying technology, which also means that his loss on Lianying technology has officially exceeded 2 billion. If it reaches the daily limit again tomorrow, the loss will reach 2.3 billion. If the limit is raised the day after tomorrow, the loss will reach 2.7 billion. If it continues until Friday, he will need to lose a total of 3.8 billion. On Li Yuan's side, Lianying Technology's current market value is close to 1.5 billion, with 12 boards, from 500 million to 1.5 billion. As long as he can get it, it can alleviate his pressure to the greatest extent and release a large amount of his margin to cope with the rise of Lianying technology. In fact, he is not afraid of the stock price of Lianying technology going up, because sooner or later it will fall back. But he had too many short orders, and the amount of margin required also increased, leaving him without any room to operate. He now sells hundreds of millions of conservative financial products every day to use as margin. Those financial products are all Shangyuan Capital's foundation. Lu Shangyuan came in and said to Li Yuan with a smile, "I have admired Mr. Li's name for a long time. Qingtian Mixed Small and Medium Caps is the benchmark for national public offerings. Your reputation in the circle now has surpassed many big names in the industry." Li Yuan also said with a smile, "I'm afraid Mr. Lu is not here to make fun of me. If I really had the ability, I would have done private equity long ago. Didn't I just think of doing public equity just to make a living? In Zhangzhou, he's just a young boy who doesn't have any thin noodles, otherwise he would have come to visit some seniors long ago." This sentence made Lu Shangyuan very embarrassed. Because he received an invitation from Li Yuan to open a business. Then, not only did he not come, he also didn't send a single flower basket worth dozens of dollars. He thought Li Yuan could say a few polite words, and then he could introduce the purpose of this time. As for actually making friends, he never thought about it. It is impossible for him and Li Yuan to get together in this life. Qingtian Capital has not spent a penny in promotion fees yet, and those channels have already regarded him as a thorn in their side. There will be no good consequences for being with him. In this situation, he could only pretend that he didn't understand and laughed and said, "Mr. Li is too humble. With your ability, we old guys are not qualified to help you. So Mr. Lu is afraid that I will steal your jobs." What? This Li Yuan is crazier than imagined. Come here in person, not only give 3 portions of thin noodles, but also want to slap yourself in the face on the spot. Thinking of the purpose of his trip, he held back his anger and said, "What Mr. Li said is that there are talents from generation to generation. Our era has passed. Now is the era of young people like Mr. Li. It is normal that we can't compare." Li Yuan said with a smile, "Does Mr. Lu have his own era? I am young and I have never heard of it. Is there a time when the annual profit rate exceeds 200%? Lu Shangyuan. Do you know how to speak? Grass. 200% annual profit. If you put aside the bull market, how many people can do it? Don't you, Li Yuan, only have 90 points at the moment? During the bull market, Few private equity investors achieved more than 200%, and Shangyuan Capital barely achieved 133%. After all, in that situation, it was impossible for him to take full position. What does Mr. Li mean by this? Is he looking down on us old people? No, 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 I simply look down on Mr. Lu and don't know much about others, so I won't comment. Ah! Lu Shangyuan couldn't hold back his anger in the end. He sneered and said, Li Yuan, in this world, you don't just have talent and you can do whatever you want. When you are young, you are strong and competitive. It won't take long for you to know how much you have to pay for your quick words. Is Mr. Lu angry? I wasn't angry when you guys teamed up to snipe me. Also, I wasn't angry when you moved out of your father's place of support. Why did you get angry after I said a few words? If you think I am young and vigorous, then I would also like to say a few words to Mr. Lu. Arrogance will not achieve great things, and prejudice will destroy you. Lu Shangyuan has a father named Lu Zongnan. Last time I went to Zhang Yuanqiao to inquire about his situation. I have nothing to do with him, so why should I ask him if I have nothing to do? To put it bluntly, I want to force it. He won't become so-called friends with anyone. Damn it, there is no benefit at all. Why should he do it? Did he think that coming here in person would be considered a favor to him? Even if you give yourself face? One's own face has always been earned by oneself, not by rewards from others. Lu Shangyuan's face turned pale, he waved his arms, turned around and walked out. Yu outside was already frightened. My boss is a bit too strong. I'm really not afraid of narrowing the road. After seeing off Lu Shangyuan, he came back and said, Boss, Lu Shangyuan is gone. In fact, Lu Shangyuan said harsh words to him before leaving, but he felt there was no need to convey it to Li Yuan. After all, Li Yuan's attitude was very obvious. He had nothing to do with Lu Shangyuan. He just listened to what he said. Conveying it to him would only make the boss angry. Well, I'm off work. Li Yuan also left the company. In fact, there is no difference between business and love. As long as the other party is not a reasonable person, compromising will only make the other party feel that you are weak and can be bullied, and it will only get worse again and again. For example, Li Yuan can say a few more words to the 13 Taibao, even if there are some bad things going on between the two parties. But the 13th Taibao is reasonable, at least he won't really come to blame him. At least I won't retaliate against him behind his back. It's good to meet someone who is reasonable. It's almost impossible to expect others to treat you sincerely. Who would give their sincerity to someone they have not known for a long time? If that were the case, how much sincerity would a person have to give in his life? He had already been bruised all over his body. Therefore, he doesn't expect others to treat him sincerely, and even if he doesn't attack behind his back, he can make a certain degree of compromise with his words and won't worry about gains and losses. I woke up and Tuesday came. Li Yuanshun took a look at Monday's net worth. Because Tianchuan shares finally raised 700 million, almost 500 million took the floor, and the next 200 million barely made much money, so the overall profit from this capital was about 100 million. 1.9970, add 5.6%. Today's net worth can be regarded as breaking a new high. After all, Lianying Technology earns 150 million and Tianchuan shares earns 100 million. This income is very fixed. After the market opened, it was pretty much what he expected. Quantitatively, there was no loss yet, so the repurchase line was triggered. Tianchuan shares closed the daily limit at the market opening, with a total of 300 million in funds to close the order. He decisively followed with 200 million, but the quantitative funds quickly added another 500 million. As a result, the closed orders reached 1 billion, and the funds inside were dumbfounded. I originally had some chips that I wanted to get out, but after all, no one dared to play too deep in Tianchuan shares. But when I saw 1 billion seals, my heart suddenly dropped to my stomach. What the heck, if 1 billion orders can be opened, just close the account and leave. Lianying Technology is still closed. Today, the two stocks made 160 million and 80 million respectively. It is not as good as yesterday, and the overall net worth has also fallen slightly. 2.0908, add 4.7%. Then, Wednesday came. On this day, the situation began to change. Tianchuan shares did not forcefully close the market again. Fortunately, Li Yuan was faster, and there were other funds that were afraid of opening the market, so he added 300 million yuan. Quantification is not done, which means that manpower has already intervened. Because of the daily limit today, losses have already occurred on the quantitative side. If it is still controlled by a program, it will definitely be blocked at all costs. After all, a program is a program. It does not involve human thinking and will only continue to do it according to a certain pattern. Now that artificial intervention is involved, it means that we cannot follow quantitative thinking. Fortunately, they did not take action on Wednesday and have been waiting and watching. Overall, it was a near miss. However, there was a problem on Lianying Technology's side. Although the board was closed, the transaction amounted to 500 million. Lianying Technology is also a highly controlled stock. Retail investors can't get in even if they want to queue up. The retail investors who came in before have already made money and don't care about hitting one or two lower limits. In addition, many people already know that there will be a large amount of empty orders in the future, and they want to get the last copper. Otherwise, those who should have run have already run away. How can we wait until the 14th board? Therefore, the 500 million yuan was most likely obtained by Lu Shangyuan. Someone started throwing chips at him. As for the price Lu Shangyuan paid, it has nothing to do with him, because the money he earned is not his. Although these 500 million were at most 1/7 of the short position held by Lu Shangyuan, it could be regarded as a relief for him. He would not have to add hundreds of millions of margins every day in the future. It can take about 2 days. He is ready to line up. Don't let Lu Shangyuan take advantage of the chips. Anyway, it has a large scale now and is not worried about violations. It is still far behind Lianying Technology, so it doesn't matter if it invests several hundred million more. Whether you can grab it or not depends on who is the fastest on both sides. The two channels are the same, so they can compete with each other for network speed. So he found Yu and said that he would leave someone on duty tonight and place an order for Lianying Technology for 100 million as soon as after 12 o'clock. Lu Shangyuan was definitely not borrowed. If he was borrowed, there would be no deal. In this case, just grab it. He can't break the board, and he doesn't have that many chips. Even if you want to create panic by smashing the market, you can't do it. The chips in Lianying Technology are too locked up, and he doesn't have room to operate. There is a high probability that they have made an under-the-table agreement so that others do not dare to lend money openly, lest they be ostracized by the shareholders of their own company. Changing hands on the market like this can be said to be an ignorant child who promises to buy it back in the future. Borrowing can't just be a child's fault, right? That's what the adults need to sign. He didn't stop Lu Shangyuan from collecting chips, he just didn't want him to get the chips so smoothly. Otherwise, how will his funds come out in the future? If Lu Shangyuan does not continue to increase his margin, he will have a position of 2 billion, and he will not have enough strength to undertake the follow-up. There are always 2 days a week that require a little extra energy. Thursday is here, which means Wednesday's net worth has also appeared. 2.1868, add 4.59%. Li Yuan achieved a net worth increase of 118 points in just 19 trading days. The funds purchased on the first day have now more than doubled. The company has almost no contact with the outside world because no one wants to communicate with them. Even relevant news reports were dropped instantly, all relying on some tap water for promotion. Li Yuan's short video account has been restricted. Tian Chuan shares, even if there were large funds to take over the opening, it was still smashed. Li Yuan then urgently added an additional 500 million yuan, which finally brought him back. In just 10 minutes after the market opened, a total of 1.6 billion was traded. It must be a short order created by margin trading. I want to try to fight back and see how ruthless Li Yuan and the others are. Anyway, Li Yuan has reached this point. Don't let him retreat before next Friday. As for Lianying Technology, the 100 million he put in was settled. Although it is still at the daily limit, 400 million yuan was sold as soon as the market opened today. Li Yuan even directly updated his position in Lianying Technology in order to deliberately disgust Lu Shangyuan. Look, 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 I'll show you all, just to make it difficult for you to lose money. The net worth dropped a lot on Thursday. 2.2585, at 3.28%. On this day, a lot of content bad-mouthing Li Yuan began to appear on the internet. It is much more powerful than the previous one. Subscriptions that day also dropped to freezing point, with only 160 million. Manager Yu, please make an announcement. Starting next week, subscriptions for Qingtian mixed small and medium caps will be suspended. He has already ignored the situation, so he still cares about you asking the Navy to smear him. All I can say is, thank you for the warmth you sent. He has been restricted for several days and it is very uncomfortable. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 145. The sudden popularity on the internet almost made the Jihu Bureau think that it had encountered friendly forces. Then someone got inside and finally gathered it on Zhang Yuling's side. Only to find out that they were the real enemy. Coincidentally, Qingtian mixed small and medium caps announced that it will be closed next week and subscriptions will be stopped. For those in the Jihu Bureau, their interests have been protected. If you continue to be black like this, are you still a human being? How could they do such an unconscionable thing? Li Yuan is their bread and butter. They rebel quickly. How fast? If you can reply at your own pace. It's too late to cut the number. I scolded those who were shady when I caught them, ignoring that I had scolded them before and didn't have time to look at their usernames. Having earned tens of thousands of dollars today, they are very energetic in whatever they do. Even in the middle of the night, when other Navy forces can no longer hold on, they are still fighting back overwhelmingly. Inexplicably, Li Yuan's enthusiasm rose again and became more and more intense. Many people took a closer look and found out, damn, these sailors are really cruel. In less than a month, the net value of the fund doubled. Now it is just a point lower than before, and they began to say something about the decline. Are those green funds that co-authored Astonishing Technology? And taking another look at Qingtian mixed small and medium caps, my dear, I haven't discovered such a good fund before. And people will stop subscribing soon. At this time, they all had only one thought in their minds. Buy it. Buy it. Buy it. If you don't buy it, you'll be sorry for your wallet. If you don't buy it, I'll be sorry for the hard work you've done over time. It's a pity that many platforms can't search it at all, and only a few big and shameless platforms can. Things are just so abstract. Although the Qingtian Capital app is ready, not many people are willing to download and register it specifically for a financial management app. As a result, the number of downloads suddenly increased significantly. Li Yuan came to the company and saw the data compiled by Yu, so he had to ask Yu to recruit a few people to reoptimize the app. It cost 200,000 yuan to outsource before, and the company never thought about expecting a few people to download its own app. Closely related to the download volume is the subscription amount. Because subscriptions will stop after 2400 hours tonight, countless funds rushed in. Coupled with the series of rhythms of the Navy, the popularity of Qingtian mixed small and medium caps has increased by several orders of magnitude. It was only 9 o'clock in the morning, and there were already 3 billion subscription funds. Yu had already disliked those little black men, but he didn't expect that now he would be a blessing in disguise because of those little black men. Stopping subscriptions has been a long-standing strategy of the company. Li Yuan has always only wanted to build reputation. Now it's the best of both worlds. The subscription funds last night were not much, only 300 million, and they were all fermented in the early morning. The funds for today's subscription have not yet been confirmed. The current size of Qingtian mixed small and medium caps has reached 35 billion. According to this trend, the amount of subscription today will probably not be less than 6 billion. The scale of exceeding 40 billion is already a certainty. As Li Yuan went to the trading room, Yu sorted out the documents in the office and found that without realizing it, Qingtian Capital had become so good. Although there are many public funds with a scale of 40 billion, it is the first time that they have been available for such a short period of time. Today passed and the company happened to be full moon. In the past 19 trading days, Li Yuan made a profit of 12.6 billion in the A-share market. Due to some circumstances in the first 2 weeks, the total profit was less than 3 billion. In the next 2 weeks, in the current 9 trading days, 9.7 billion has been earned. Close to 1.1 billion every day. The data of other funds cannot withstand analysis, but the data of the fund operated by Li Yuan dare not be analyzed. The more you analyze it, the more terrifying it becomes. In the trading room, after Li Yuan made some arrangements, he once again focused on Lianying Technology and Tianchuan shares. With these 2 tickets, he was considered heavily invested. Currently, it holds Lianying Technology with a market value of 1 billion. The market value of Tianchuan shares held is 1.4 billion. On the Lianying Technology side, Lu Shangyuan was not robbed today, but Lu Shangyuan robbed him of 300 million chips. However, Li Yuan had 100 million hanging on the back, which made Lu Shangyuan unable to take over. Tianchuan shares also reached the daily limit smoothly. Previously, the quantitative side did not dare to hit the market, could not buy tickets, and did not dare to pull it. For these 2 tickets, the situation is very clear, and retail investors have been almost cleared out long ago. The funds from all parties are very obvious, and Li Yuan has the initiative. Other tickets are becoming increasingly difficult to obtain. Especially as the scale increases, the holdings have to increase by dozens. Currently, Qingtian mixes small and medium-sized caps, with more than a dozen traders working together to make more than 120 votes, and there is almost no pause in the early trading. Li Yuan's mouth is dry every day, so he relies on the drafts he made in his head in advance. After the market closed, Li Yuan went back to the office and drank 2 glasses of water. He decided to reduce the frequency of transactions. Anyway, no new funds will enter the market in the future. After finishing Tianchuan shares and Lianying Technology, we will return to normal trading. His trading methods during this period were no different from those of hot money. He almost always moved in and out quickly, and rarely stayed in a ticket for more than 3 days. This method is not sustainable. The market is still barely coping with it now. When the combined turnover of the 2 cities is less than 500 billion in a while, no results will be achieved no matter what. Reducing the trading frequency is also good for judging the market. It can give him more time to analyze. Even if the market is worse, he will not make a wrong judgment. After waiting in the office for a while, Yu brought over today's report. 2.3459, at 3.87%. The 4th week officially ends. As soon as I got in the car and was about to go back, I received a phone call. An unknown number. After the call was connected, a man's voice came. Li Yuan. Yes, who are you? Li Yuan responded politely, as he would not offend anyone with just a few words. Even if the other person doesn't sound like a good person. It's like this. Someone asked me to warn you. It's better to obey the rules when doing things, so as not to end badly. Get the hell out of here. You only know clowns hiding in the dark world. I'm not even afraid of your boss, but would I be afraid of a rat like you? Who do you think you are? No matter Lu Shangyuan or Lu Zongnan, you think come and take action, let's see who dies first. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he hung up the phone directly. Then he drove the car and headed outside. Instead of going home, he drove toward the suburbs. After passing for a while, I found a location without surveillance and called Zhang Yuanqiao. At the same time, he had a big stone ready in his hand. Zhang Yuanqiao answered the call quickly and asked cheerfully, "Xiaoke, why are you so reluctant to call me today? Do you want to come to my house for a meal?" Li Yuan said, "Old man, I'm afraid I won't have a chance to eat. I just received a threatening phone call." Li Yuan was just mid-sentence when he suddenly picked up a stone and threw it at the car window. Grass. The next second, he smashed the phone. Then he drove the car with the broken windows and drove away. Zhang Yuanqiao on the other side of the phone was confused. I quickly called back, but couldn't get through at all. He realized that something had happened to Li Yuan. And the last words Li Yuan said made him have many associations. He hurriedly said in the group, "Hurry, Li Yuan just called me and said that he had received a threatening call," but before he could finish speaking, the call was hung up, and he couldn't get through. I think I heard something else. The sound of the car being smashed. Something happened to him. Old 12, are you telling the truth? Nonsense, can I joke about this kind of thing? Who dares to play like this? Li Yuan is worth billions after all, who wants to die? Who does it matter at this time? Find someone quickly and search all the connections that can be used. We must find someone as soon as possible. I'm afraid there will be no chance if it's too late. After Zhang Yuanqiao finished speaking, he immediately started making phone calls. In less than half an hour, road monitoring on each section of the road was called out. Zhang Yuanqiao and Ho Zhenqiao gathered in front of the screen and looked at all the data. An hour ago, Li Yuan drove out of his company's garage. Then instead of going home, he drove to the suburbs. After passing an intersection, there was a pause for a while. When he appeared in front of the next camera again, Li Yuan's car window had been smashed to pieces. From then on, Li Yuan only walked on small roads, and he didn't care that his car was in a low position, as if he was avoiding someone. Just through surveillance, they didn't see anyone following him. But these are not important. What is important is that something happened to Li Yuan. Li Yuan drove the car until it ran out of gas, without even taking out the key. He lost the car and left the rural dirt road to rush to a village. This place is very close to his hometown, and he is familiar with the situation here better than anyone else. He doesn't want to risk others' lives with him, so he likes to strike first. If the other party were to attack him directly, he would really have no solution. Call ahead and threaten now? It was like giving evidence to him. If he didn't make good use of it, he would be blind. It doesn't matter what kind of mobile phone or car it is, it only costs less than 1 million. As for the flaws along the way, even if there are any, they are insignificant and no one will review them at this time. There is no point in revisiting the situation after the dust has settled. All means are time sensitive. For example, for that threatening phone call, the equipment around him is not complete now. When the equipment is complete, they will not even be able to get their own number, and the threat will be out of the question. Originally, he didn't want to be so anxious to get a bodyguard, because the bodyguard would bring him some negative effects. He couldn't find the kind of reliable bodyguards hired on the market. They might be very professional, but the interests of such a company were not consistent with his own. To put it bluntly, if Lu Zongnan puts pressure, those companies will betray his situation, which is equivalent to putting a probe around himself. After all, whether he offends himself or offends Lu Zongnan is a choice that any normal person can make. Even if it wasn't Lu Zongnan, there would still be Yang Zongnan and Lu Zongnan. The power of some capital is much more terrifying than imagined. If you want to find bodyguards, it is better to find a few uncles in the village. Many of them have served as soldiers, and their interests are consistent with yours. A little professional training for a period of time will be enough. The personal bodyguards of those big bosses are basically not from professional backgrounds, and it is difficult for them to be influenced by any force behind them, otherwise they would not be at ease. For example, Lao Ma's personal bodyguard is a Tai Chi master. He hired it himself. He used to be a martial arts coach. Other big bosses basically don't have bodyguards. When they attend public places, they hire some from security companies. This is a short-term cooperation and they will not keep bodyguards with them for a long time. There are also some from our own security companies, which are reliable and reliable to use. Almost no personal bodyguards are hired from outside security companies for long-term cooperation. At this time, Li Yuan was only about 10 kilometers away from his hometown. And there is an older village ahead, and I have a distant aunt who lives there. He came often when he was a child, and the village was lively at that time. But now, there are only a few households in the village with 40 or 50 households. Basically, the elderly live there and raise some chickens and ducks. During the holidays, they take the chickens and ducks to the city to spend time with their children after the new year. Come back and continue to buy some chickens and ducks to raise. I can't get used to living in a building in the city, and I can't let go of my love for my children and grandchildren. Of course, the mutual dislike between generations is also part of the reason. His aunt has passed away, but there are still people he knows in the village, so getting a meal is not a problem. At the same time, Zhang Zhou is about to fall into chaos. Zhang Yuanqiao led his people directly to Lu Zongnan's house. Lu Zongnan even greeted Zhang Yuanqiao with a smile. After all, this was a rare thing. However, as soon as he saw the person, Zhang Yuanqiao pointed at his nose and scolded him, "Lu Zongnan, you are really promising. You can use such shameless tricks. How do you still have the dignity to stay in Zhangzhou? If you get to this point, you can just hit a telephone pole and die." Lu Zongnan's expression froze and he returned, "Zhang Yuanqiao, what do you mean?" "You know what I mean. You couldn't beat Li Yuan in the game, so you started to use tricks outside the game. Did you find someone to threaten him? Did you find someone to attack him? I'm embarrassed for you even if I say it. You are working with a group of scoundrels. You, Lu Zongnan, are the only one who can do such a shameless thing. When did I ever do this kind of thing?" Lu Zongnan shouted at the top of his lungs. Ho Zhenqiu on the side said with a straight face, "Lu Zongnan, it's useless for you to tell us. The threatening phone call before Li Yuan's accident has been investigated. Although they refuse to say who instigated it, they really want to investigate and it's not that difficult." Lu Zongnan's expression changed. "Is something really wrong with Li Yuan? The car was smashed, and the whereabouts of the person are unknown. The search is ongoing. Hurry up and let your people explain. It's best if Li Yuan is fine. If something happens to him, you won't be able to find out." Lu Zongnan said with a gloomy face, "You guys wait here while I ask." He really didn't know about this. What kind of status does he have that warrants using such a shameless thing? But he couldn't guarantee whether his son had done such a thing. When he returned to the room, he immediately called Lu Shangyuan. As soon as the call was connected, he said, "Tell me the truth, did you find some unscrupulous person to threaten Li Yuan?" "Dad, what's wrong?" "Something happened to Li Yuan. Someone blocked the door." "What? Something happened? I didn't receive any news." Hearing this, Lu Zongnan's blood pressure almost rose. "It's obvious that this bitch did it." "You bitch, who taught you to use this method? You are shameless, and I want to be shameless. You idiot, hand over Li Yuan to me quickly." "Dad, I really don't know." "You want me to kill you now, don't you? Let me tell you, Li Yuan can die any way he wants, but he can't die like this. Even if he dies, you can't live. Anyway, you're a shameful thing, I'll keep it, you're useless." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 146. Chapter 146. Your dad didn't agree. Lu Zongnan came back, saw Zhang Yuanqiao and a group of people, and said, "Tomorrow I will return Li Yuan to you. If Li Yuan is missing anything, I will take what Shang Yuan has on him and explain it to you." After saying this, he returned to the room. This matter is really serious. It was so serious that he didn't care about his son's life. This world, black and white, has its own set of operating rules. Within the rules, you can do whatever you want, it is nothing more than success or failure. Of those who were driven out and killed, which one did not break the rules? As for the guys who use those black rules, no one wants to let them continue to exist, and no one knows when that set of rules will fall on them. The best way is to kill them all with one stick. At around 10 o'clock in the middle of the night, Lu Shangyuan came back in a hurry. Seeing that the lights were still on in the old man's study, I ran over immediately. He looked tired and a little panicked, and said, "Dad," I asked, "they really didn't do anything, they just made a phone call." Lu Zongnan became even more tired, closed his eyes and waved his hands. He signaled Lu Shangyuan not to continue talking. "What's important is not whether they took action or not, what's important is that you shouldn't have made that call. To put it bluntly, even if Li Yuan is playing a trick this time, you have already fallen into the trap. You know, you let someone make that call, does it mean anything? It means that you are putting your own handle into the enemy's hands. It would be fine if nothing happened to Li Yuan this time, but if something does happen, you will have to bear the blame, or you will have to bear it. Don't let the whole you are not worthy of being buried with the Lu family." Lu Shangyuan's mind went blank. He is the only son in the family, and the old man has rarely said such serious words to him in recent years. Lu Zongnan knew that his son's thinking had been affected by spending all day with a group of businessmen over the years. Because many businessmen like to use this method and think they are very powerful. In fact, he blocked his own escape route. In this world, people are jealous of those who can break the rules, because they are geniuses and will affect the interests of many people. But I hate people who break the rules, because such people are crazy, and everyone will stay as far away as possible, and seize the opportunity to kill them directly. Breaking is upward, destruction is downward. Who doesn't know how to play black? Do you think you are the only one who can? What kind of rules and order are needed then? If everyone doesn't follow the rules, what will the situation be like? Opening his eyes, he found Lu Shangyuan still standing there. He angrily shouted, "What are you still doing there? Get out of here. Get out and look for someone. If you can't find anyone, you can end it yourself. Don't force me, I'm going to do it, I'm not on the same side as you on this matter." Fortunately, Lu Shangyuan already has 2 children, so the Lu family still has successors. Otherwise, he really doesn't know how to deal with today's matter. Before, He had thought of helping his son so that his Shangyuan capital could regain some health. Now it seems that it is completely unnecessary. If you continue to help, more problems will arise. Anyway, the eldest grandson is already 20 years old and the younger grandson is 7 years old. I can still live until they become successful. Zhang Yuanqiao was at home with several people around him. He arranged for someone to get some food and rubbed his brows, feeling indescribable anxiety. Ho Zhenqiao asked, Lao 12, you have done everything you can do, and Lu Zongnan has also made a promise, so don't worry. Zhang Yuanqiao said, are you not worried? Yuling has finally changed a bit recently. She took the initiative to talk about Li Yuan in front of me. I guess she and Li Yuan are about to get married. These words shocked Ho Zhenqiao and his party. Is Li Yuan going to get married with Zhang Yuling? However, although wasn't there always a shadow before? Zhang Yuanqiao continued, I guess Li Yuan is reluctant at the moment, but I can feel the change in Yuling's attitude. I guess I have discovered the shining point in Li Yuan. It must not be money anyway, because when the two officially met for the first time, Li Yuan was already very rich. He didn't expect to succeed from the beginning, but he was very satisfied with the current state. After all, as long as Zhang Yuling lets go, more than half of the matter will be settled. How can any man not be afraid of being pestered? I keep pestering, and I don't know when the child will be born. Then you really have to show off and let Li Yuan think of you. Maybe it will happen. If it was a month ago, Ho Zhenqiao and the others would never have said this. Because at that time, although I knew that Li Yuan was excellent, Zhang Yuling was not bad either. There are many people chasing you. But this month, the senses Li Yuan brought to them were subversive. Especially recently, the commissioner of the National Fund is inspecting Li Yuan, and there is currently nothing to say about it. As long as Li Yuan can manage half of the skills of the past month when operating large national funds, things will basically be done. Li Yuan will definitely avoid 30 years of detours. At that time, Zhang Yuling was no longer worthy of Li Yuan. Just try to get it done while there is still some time at the end. I'll ask about the situation after dinner. Well, we will go with you then. After Ho Zhenqiao finished speaking, he excused himself to go to the bathroom. Then, he secretly asked his eldest grandson Ho Wenbin for Zhang Yuling's contact information. He really didn't. The call to Zhang Yuling was quickly answered. Yuling, it's me. Your grandpa Ho just came out from the traffic police team. Your grandpa is in a bad mood. Will you come back when you have time? It's nothing serious. It's just that Li Yuan was threatened by someone and his whereabouts are unknown. Judging from the current situation, he was attacked by others. Your grandfather is worried about him and hasn't even drank a sip of water yet. Li Yuan? The police have been called anyway. We old men can't be expected to go so far to find someone, mainly your grandfather. Ah. Yuling, Li Yuan's affairs are more important than your grandfather? After talking for so long, you only care about Li Yuan, right? Okay, you and Li Yuan are friends, I know. I'll send you all the news I've got so far. You can add my WeChat account. I have photos here. Soon, Ho Zhenqiao hung up the phone. He felt that what Zhang Yuanqiao said was true. Zhang Yuling seems to be thinking about Li Yuan now. Didn't you catch a cold at first? Zhang Yuanqiao had often talked about this in the group before, saying that Li Yuan didn't have that idea, and Zhang Yuling didn't like Li Yuan too much, so he was ready to give up. How long has it been? Zhang Yuling suddenly changed his attitude. All I can say is that Li Yuan is a bit evil. It's nothing more than being handsome and rich. If you really have to feel something that is on the surface, you will have it the first time you meet. Is there any need to wait until now? But it just so happens that young people have to pursue their own feelings. No matter how much the older generation does, it may not really work. In Li Yuan's life, there are not many opportunities for sinking, and people will always be most easily moved when they sink. Regardless of whether you find it or not, it will be useful if you do it. He began to send a message to Zhang Yuling, explaining the current situation in detail, including the route Li Yuan left and the section where the accident occurred. It took me half an hour to get out of the bathroom. Lao Wu, have you fallen into a trap? What's wrong? Can't you accept life? It's not your own trap. It's not that comfortable to squat down. Ho Zhenqiu was among this group of people, and it didn't matter what he said. They have a normal relationship with Li Yuan. If it weren't for Zhang Yuanqiao, he would probably know the situation and ask about it. It would be impossible for him to be busy from 6 o'clock to almost 10 o'clock and go to confront Lu Zongnan in person. However, they also recognized Li Yuan's strength, but they just felt that they could not bring anything to exchange benefits with Li Yuan. Without the exchange of interests, the relationship cannot be maintained. Now that I have the opportunity, I must help. Li Yuan felt that he was playing a little too big. I originally thought I would find an acquaintance tonight, but when I arrived at the village, I realized that I had not been here for several years and had completely changed. The houses are basically gone, with only a few remaining. Most of them have been pushed to the ground, some have planted saplings, and some have been left uncultivated. The few people in my memory who were barely relatives are no longer there. You can go home, but you have to walk another 20 miles. After thinking about it, I finally went to a house with lights on and knocked on the door. The next second, all the dogs in the village were barking. The sound of footsteps followed, along with the sound of yelling to stop the barking of the own dog. Sounds like a woman, and seems young? None of this matters. What's important is that he heard the sound of the door bolt being pulled. Soon, a young woman opened the door with her dog. It was a cross between a German Shepherd and a pastoral dog, but it was larger and looked more powerful. Especially in scenes with poor lighting, the appearance of licking the tongue is very oppressive. The woman asked, "Who are you? Why haven't I seen you? You're not from the village, are you?" Sister, I'm here to see my relatives. I didn't expect my relatives to live here anymore, so I just wanted to find a place to stay for one night. Is it convenient for you?" The woman seemed hesitant and asked, "What is your relative's name?" "Huh? I don't know. Li Yuan keeps calling her aunt, but who knows what his aunt's name is? My mother also calls me second aunt and second aunt when she comes here, and doesn't call anyone by their name. You don't even know the name. You're not here to steal the dog, are you?" I'm really not sure about my aunt's name. Let's forget it. Excuse me." After Li Yuan finished speaking, he was ready to leave. It's really inconvenient for a girl to live here. But he doesn't want to go back now. It is estimated that someone has already found the place where he abandoned the car. Going back now will have no effect. He had two purposes this time. On the one hand, it is to see who is on your side, and on the other hand, it is to put a little pressure on those who want to attack you. Even if Zhang Yuanqiao was not familiar with him, calling the police would be the most basic thing. Those who should know will naturally know. Just like stock trading, you need to shake the market first and figure out the distribution of chips before you know how to make a profit. When all the funds in a stock belong to the enemy, it is impossible for you to win. Moreover, Qingtian Capital is no longer a small player. The company's boss is missing. If there is no response from Zhangzhou, he will move the company as soon as possible. He couldn't let his identity go unused. Then some people will continue to play dead. Qingtian Capital is so popular, Zhangzhou doesn't like it? But so far, has anyone concerned come here? Hey, if you can't remember your aunt, you can always remember others, right? You should know where she lives, right? It was the first house at the entrance of the village. It has become flat now. I don't know her very well. I only know her surname is Yao. I think she has a little cousin named Sisi. He and his aunt have already been on the 5th server. As for the little cousin, they are incompatible with each other and have not even spoken a word to each other. The woman asked curiously, "How many years have you been here?" "It seems like 7 or 8 years ago. I haven't been here since my aunt passed away." "Oh, then do you think I look like your little cousin? Also, my name is Chin Si. Did you even remember your last name wrong?" The woman continued, "But my father's surname is indeed Yao. I don't have any impression of you, but you must be right. Come in." Li Yuan asked, "Isn't it right? I remember that my little cousin was younger than me. She is only 18 at most now." The woman asked, "I don't look like 18. Like. Mainly because I can't see clearly. This is at the front yard gate, and the lights in the house are still some distance away from the front yard. Then come in quickly, otherwise others will think my man is back and they will have to come and block the door to ask for money." Li Yuan. 18 years old and still married? Hey, that's good. After all, they can be regarded as relatives, and there is no psychological burden on them to have a meal together. Maybe someone else could do it, but he didn't have the money to give it. After entering the main room, with the light, Li Yuan could see the girl in front of him clearly. A little thin, but overall she still looks like an 18-year-old girl, especially those dark eyes, which have the clarity and ignorance of young people, but there is also some fierceness that does not belong to this age. As soon as she entered the house, she heard the voice of a child calling her mother from the back room. Chin Si said with some embarrassment, "You sit here for a while, and I'll put the child to sleep." After saying that, she tied the dog leash directly to the door frame and walked into the back room. This is just a small one-story bungalow. Listening to the movement just now, the child's voice calling mother was relatively clear. He must be at least 3 years old. Li Yuan felt that he had discovered something terrible. Could it be that Chin Si was 15 years old? Looking back now, it seems that my family suddenly lost contact with this place. Originally, according to the usual practice, even if the aunt passed away, they would have to stay together for 3 years, and we would see the situation after 3 years. Later, I didn't seem to hear that anyone in the family had been here. He was still young at that time, 11 or 12 years old, and would not think about this at all. Maybe there's something wrong here? Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain why Chin Si got married before completing 9 years of obligatory studies. It's outrageous, it took 3 years to start. After a while, Chin Si came out, flipped her hair and asked, "What's your name?" "Li Yuan. Does your cousin have any impression?" "Children from Uncle Wan He's family." Yes, I didn't expect my cousin to still remember it." "Of course I remember. Last year, my dad asked Uncle Wan He to give me 30,000 yuan to take me to your house to live. Uncle Wan He didn't agree. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it." Author, Lao He. Chapter 147. Li Yuan. Why don't I know? What did his father refuse to him? If it really happened, he might just unlock his previous life. Although Chin Si is not the kind of person who is very beautiful at first glance, he is very attractive. And she has a good figure, and she seems to have a delicate and stubborn temperament. It is easy to get a sense of belonging to this niche temperament. But then I thought about it and it seemed normal again. I had just been admitted to Zhangzhou University last year and my family was beautiful. How could I agree to such a thing? Chin Si said, "You're not here to see your relatives, are you?" "No, I just wanted to come and see this place. I came here many times when I was a kid and suddenly I thought about it." Chin Si smiled, her smile was very light, as if she had some experience that prevented her from smiling too contentedly. "Then I'll go get you some food." It's too late, so let's make do with it first, and I'll prepare 2 special dishes for you tomorrow. Mainly because my family didn't have time and there were no ready-made dishes. Although there are some old hens, they will not be able to get into their mouths for a while. Do you have any noodles? Just cook me a bowl of noodles. Okay, pour yourself some water when you're thirsty. The water bottle is right next to you. Thank you, cousin. Li Yuan knew that coming here would cause trouble to Qin Si. Because looking at the entire home, there is something unusually dilapidated. It seems like we were still living more than 10 or 20 years ago. In his perception, the current poverty is not like this. The 5 guarantee households in their village have better food and housing than Qin Si. Something happened in 2020. At that time, he heard that there was an old man in the village next door. He went to the meat stall and asked to buy meat for 1 yuan. He also said that he had not eaten meat for 3 months. This is the limit he has ever encountered. No matter how poor you are, this is nothing more than this, right? And there is a special reason for that. The old man has sons and grandsons, but his children and grandchildren are not very lively, and the old man has a somewhat weird personality. Li Yuan's grandparents were like this before. Even though their family conditions were not bad, they just kept digging and searching all day long. In order to save money, I buy other people's leftover meat or even stinky meat. As a result, Li Yuan was hospitalized once and was scolded by his parents for several days. Since then, the 2 old men have slightly changed their behavior. Qin Si's family really looks like a family with nothing but walls. Who can live without some rags these days? Qin Si's family doesn't have one. As far as the eye could see, there was nowhere for the mice to hide. I guess the mice don't take kindly to it either. 10 minutes later, Qin Si came in with a bowl of noodles, dotted with a few green vegetables and 2 eggs. Li Yuan liked the smell of food, so he took it and started eating. Qin Si was watching from the side, holding his chin with his hands, and asked, "Aren't you in college? Why are you here?" The school arranged an outing, but I got separated, so I wanted to come here to have a look." Outing. Qin Si's eyes seemed to have light. Because this kind of thing only appeared in her elementary school textbooks. Neither the primary school in the village nor the junior high school in the town has these programs. "Yeah, my mobile phone is broken and I can't make calls. I will stay here for another day tomorrow. When the school teachers come to me, they should be looking for me." "Okay, tell me about college life and let me see the world." "No problem." Li Yuan finished the bowl of noodles in 3 strokes. Although he still had some unfinished thoughts, he didn't show it. Qin Si was very optimistic and seemed to be trying to resolve her predicament with a smile, but she just couldn't. The more we talked, the more certain it became that she was really only 18 years old. She even went to the back room, took out a fan inside, and blew it specifically for Li Yuan. Li Yuan felt a lot more comfortable. After all, the weather was very hot and he was sticky after running so far. Qin Si is very interested in children's palaces, museums, and science and technology museums. Although Li Yuan has never been there, he can make it up. He was also in the village when he was a child, and the children's palace also only existed in books. At first, he didn't quite understand what kind of place it was and why children liked to go there to play during holidays. He doesn't know now, but the children's palace no longer has any appeal to him. No matter how he made it up, Qin Si listened carefully until the child in the back room woke up again. Most likely he was awakened by the heat. "Cousin, please bring the fan in. I'll just take a shower." "The child can't be hot, otherwise it will be more troublesome if he gets sick." Qin Si said curiously, "Can you still take care of children?" "Huh? I just saw it from the internet." "Then do you know how to save data?" "I heard that there is a software that can save data, but I never know how to download it, so I rarely read it. Chin Si took out his mobile phone. I know, I'll help you do it. You go and comfort the child first. Good. Li Yuan waited for Chin Si to leave before taking the phone. No password, just slide to unlock. It is an old machine from 4 years ago. It could be sold for more than 1,000 yuan at first, but now it is estimated that no one wants it for 100 yuan. The legendary P6, a first-generation mobile phone, has no other advantages except good looks. The P8 at the back is a little more passable. As for the so-called traffic-saving software, there is some shitty data-saving software. It's good if it doesn't consume too much data. He took a look and saw that Chin Si turned off the mobile data function. After turning it on, he checked the package for her. The monthly rent is 19, and there is only 500 megabytes of free traffic, and the subsequent fee is 1 yuan per megabyte. He remembered that the traffic charges had not changed for many years. 7 or 8 years ago, it was 1 yuan per trillion, and it is still the same now. He has a campus card, which means he has a lot of traffic. Plus, he has wireless access on weekdays, so he has almost no worries about traffic. After a while, Chin Si's mobile phone card was successfully in arrears. When he couldn't get online, Li Yuan took out his tattered mobile phone and pulled out the mobile phone card inside. Then, he ignored another reality. That is, Chin Si's mobile phone SIM card is a large SIM card, while his own mobile phone SIM card is a small SIM card. The card slots do not match. He tentatively inserted his small card in, held it with his hand, and pushed the card slot little by little. However, after turning on the phone, Chin Si's phone did not display it. He knew it must be crooked. Take it out and try again. But no matter what, Chin Si's mobile phone couldn't connect to the chip of his mobile phone card. After all, he can't be that perfect, and the connections inside will eventually go awry. Unless he can fix his small card in the middle of the card slot to prevent the small card from retreating due to some slight resistance when he is pushing. After a while, Chin Si coaxed the child and walked out. Li Yuan said with some embarrassment, "Cousin, I'll go to town to get it for you tomorrow. I'll use someone else's wireless network to download it for you. It's a bit hard to get it now." "Okay, you go take a shower first, and I'll make a bed for you on the roof. It'll be cooler to sleep there." "Yeah, okay." Li Yuan hadn't experienced the feeling of sleeping on the roof of a building for a long time. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I often slept there because when summer came at that time, it was easy for the power to go out at home. Then the whole family went to the roof to enjoy the cool breeze and look at the stars. It was dawn when they woke up. Chin Si first carried a bucket of water to the roof and poured it on it. Then they brought 2 benches, put bamboo necks on them, and then spread a layer of mats on them. Li Yuan took a quick shower, then used his t-shirt as a towel, wiped his hair, and left it to dry. After Li Yuan came up, Chin Si smiled and said, "We college students are going to be wronged. I have to thank my cousin for taking him in, otherwise I wouldn't know which pigsty he would be hiding in now. This is no better than a pigsty. When I go to town tomorrow, I will borrow a mobile phone for you. Then I can put your mobile phone card in it. Remember to call your teacher and ask them to pick you up." Chin Si saw the scene where Li Yuan failed to get his mobile phone card in even though he had been tinkering for a long time. This is like people from 2 worlds, they are incompatible no matter what. "Okay." Li Yuan agreed. "Then I'll go down first. If you need anything, remember to call me from the window downstairs." Li Yuan lay on the mat, which was cold and cold. It was obvious that Chin Si had specially wiped it with water. It's not too dry yet. Participating in other people's fate is actually a very powerless thing. Chin Si didn't want to say this, so he certainly wouldn't ask any more questions. Now he is very comfortable. He does not have a mobile phone or a computer, and does not need to receive noisy information from outside. When you look up, you will see the sky full of stars. When you lower your head, you will see. The figure in the yard was scooping water from a ladle and pouring it down from his head. He lay down and put his hands under his head. I fell asleep before I knew it. It was already around 5 o'clock the next morning when I woke up. Although I only slept for 6 hours, I was in good spirits. After letting go of everything, I found that I was no longer so impetuous. After all, it feels like a sin to look at it more than once. Normally, even if I don't take a single glance at it, I feel like I'm at a loss. People are always greedy, and even their desires are endless. Chin Si was busy in the morning, watering the vegetable garden, killing chickens, and washing vegetables. Li Yuan saw Chin Si's child for the first time. He looks like a little boy of 3 or 4 years old, very clingy. When he saw Li Yuan, he didn't dare to speak, and he always wanted to stay close to Chin Si. Chin Si was not afraid of trouble at all and was very patient throughout the process, even if he was forced to put down what he was doing. The lunch was very sumptuous, with an old hen stewed and 3 additional dishes. He was already treated as an important guest. When killing the chickens, Li Yuan saw that there were only 2 old hens in her family. Anyway, it's pretty weird from beginning to end. Those who only raise 2 chickens in rural areas may not be short of that and simply want a few free-range eggs. Or you can't even raise chickens. But Chin Si's craftsmanship is really good, at least several floors higher than Zhou Ran's. Chin Si would tear the chicken into strips and feed them to the little boy. "Cousin, is this your child?" Li Yuan finally asked. Chin Si immediately said, "If it's not mine, how can it be yours? My biological son, do you understand?" She said the word biological very hard. Li Yuan saw that after he asked a question, the little boy who obviously liked eating meat stopped what he was doing. He waited until Chin Si finished answering before continuing to eat. After dinner, Chin Si said that he would take the children to play in the town. At first, the child was very interested and actively asked to walk on his own. But within 500 meters, the little boy stopped leaving. Chin Si had no choice but to hug her. A 3 or 4-year-old child is very heavy, weighing 20 to 30 pounds, and needs to be carried for 5 miles. "How about I hold the baby?" As soon as Li Yuan said these words, he saw the child struggling fiercely on Chin Si. Okay, mommy hugs me." Chin Si comforted the child. Li Yuan could only keep walking forward. Chin Si needs to change arms frequently to persist. But it seems that Chin Si is quite happy to do these things. She seems to always be so patient. When they arrived in town, Li Yuan felt tired, but Chin Si didn't say a word. Chin Si first took Li Yuan to a mobile phone store. "Uncle Wen, this is a relative of mine. His mobile phone is broken. Can you borrow a mobile phone and ask him to install a card and call home to pick up the phone?" He does not. The mobile phone store owner casually took out a mobile phone without saying a word. "Thank you, uncle." Li Yuan took the phone and said something. At the same time, he also said to Chin Si, "Cousin, put your mobile phone here, I will make a call and help you install the data-saving software." Chin Si looked around and said, "Well, okay. I'm on the 2nd floor of the supermarket at the door. If you can't wait, you can leave your phone here." "Can wait." Li Yuan took Chin Si's cell phone, and Chin Si also carried the child to the 2nd floor of the supermarket. It was a children's playground. Although it's not big, it's a supermarket in town after all, so it's a good place to walk around. Li Yuan got his mobile phone card, downloaded the payment software immediately, and then logged into his account. First, he recharged Chin Si's mobile phone card with 10,000 yuan, then opened Chin Si's mobile phone and deleted the recharge text message. In order to prevent her from finding out, the number 10,086 was also blacklisted. Immediately afterwards, Li Yuan said to the boss, "Uncle, how much does this mobile phone cost? I have used it, and you probably won't be able to sell it, so I'll just buy it." Unexpectedly, the boss said disdainfully, "You old Zhang family, do you still have this ability? As long as you can come up with money, you won't go to shovel Qin Si all day long." Li Yuan. He knows what shoveling means, just rub it. In dialect, it means that the family happened to be cooking, but you insisted on getting a shovel to take advantage of it. There is something in what the boss said. "You misunderstood, my surname is not Zhang." So you are. The boss looked much better. Li Yuan said, "Qin Si and I are cousins, and she is my cousin. When I was on a business trip, my phone broke and I couldn't pay. The car broke down halfway, so I went to her house for a meal, and then she brought me to town." Not from Zhang Chengui's family. No, who is Zhang Chengui? A bad gambler. I haven't seen him for more than half a year. He probably died outside. Li Yuan immediately asked, "You seem to know these things very well." "To be honest with you, Qin Si and I also had a baby date back then, but I don't know why she got married suddenly." "Please tell me." Chant. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 148. There is a kind of person in this world that you must never mess with. That's a bad gambler. It just so happened that Qin Si's father was a bad gambler. This is why after Aunt Li Yuan passed away, the family decisively cut off contact with them. Because it's clear who they are and what their future looks like. And Zhang Chengui is Qin Si's husband. A year ago, Zhang Chengui spent 10,000 yuan to marry her. Of course, because of his age, he must not have obtained the certificate. What is very outrageous is that on the day of his wedding, Zhang Chengui received tens of thousands of yuan from his family members, but he lost it all playing cards that night. "I haven't given the money yet, so I made an excuse and said I would give it tomorrow." Then he collected the money and ran away that night. After all, he has been a bad gambler outside all year round. If he goes out without money, no one will play with him. The family can only ask Qin Si for it, but how can Qin Si have any money? Anyway, I came here to ask for food and drinks whenever I had nothing to do. With Qin Si's ability, he couldn't make much money at all. Not to mention that she also has to raise a child for Zhang Chengui. Zhang Chengui's family is not a good person either. His younger brothers and sisters always look for Qin Si when they have nothing to do, not to mention making money and so on. When they buy things in the town, they often put Qin Si's bill on them. Moreover, he tricked his own children into pestering Qin Si to buy them things. He was nominally responsible for the eldest brother Zhang Chengui all day long. As the eldest sister-in-law, Qin Si could not let his nephews and nieces starve to death when his eldest brother was away. The whole street sympathized with Qin Si, but when they saw young people and children around Qin Si, they would keep a straight face and not give a good look. Although you young man is also a talented person, Qin Si is not bad either. Why didn't you take Qin Si home in the first place? The owner of the mobile phone store felt a little unfair to Qin Siming. Li Yuan said, "I was studying at the time, but who knew I didn't pass the exam in the end? What if she takes the exam and takes her home? Is it different to wait a few years before getting married? I guess someone in your family thinks her education is low." Li Yuan couldn't answer this question. Finally, I paid 800 yuan and left with my phone. But instead of going to the second floor of the supermarket to find Qin Si, he went to buy an electric car nearby. When he arrived at the second floor of the supermarket half an hour later, he found Qin Si having fun with the little boy. "There is a big swimming pool here, where you can play with the toys. The little boy smiles very cutely and loves everything here. Of course, Qin Si also had a lot of fun. The little boy has always been afraid of Li Yuan, but now that Li Yuan is here, he doesn't care. After Qin Si saw Li Yuan, he asked, "Have you called the teacher? It's a fight. The teacher asked me to wait here." "Here, I've got the phone for you." Li Yuan couldn't shout out that cousin. Qin Si smiled and took the phone and said, "Thank you then." She didn't ask for Li Yuan's mobile phone number, nor did she ask for WeChat. After playing for almost 2 hours, Li Yuan asked, "Let me take you home. I just rented an electric car from the store next to me." Qin thought for a moment and agreed. "Take the little boy out of the pool, dry him and change his clothes." Then Da Fang Fang took out 10 yuan in cash and handed it to the supermarket. "If you have a shopping receipt, it is free to play here if it exceeds 68 yuan. Otherwise it's $5 an hour." Qin Si didn't buy anything. But Li Yuan simply didn't know about this. Otherwise, he would definitely buy something and get the 10 yuan for free. But Qin Si was really willing to do it, just to let his children play with this thing and contribute to his own day's income. After all, she didn't make much money. With a child in tow and just relying on some manual work, 10 or 20 yuan a day was already a lot. She seemed happier spending the money on her children than on herself. "I didn't feel it was expensive at all, and I didn't feel reluctant to give it up at all. Spend money generously and give money neatly. So cool." Li Yuan believed that if he lived in such an environment, he would not be able to reach Qin Si's level. He will become very stingy and feel bad if he spends an extra dollar. Arriving outside the supermarket and looking at the brand new electric car, Qin Si didn't say anything. She knew it wasn't Li Yuan who borrowed it. But in this world, it is not uncommon to buy an electric car. It's just a bit rare for her. Li Yuan was in front, and the little boy was placed in the middle by Qin Si, while he was protecting the little boy from behind. The overall road condition is good. There are one-way cement roads leading to each village. 5 miles is not too far. It took almost an hour to come and only 10 minutes to go back. After being delivered to the door of the house, Qin Si took the little boy out of the car. Li Yuan did not get off the car and said with a smile, "Then I will go to the town to wait for my teacher. I will see you again when I have the opportunity." "Good." Qin Si then looked at the little boy in his arms and said, "Xiao Sheng, say goodbye to uncle quickly." Li Yuan smiled and said, "Goodbye, little guy." Without waiting for the little boy's response, Li Yuan turned around and left. In fact, he also withdrew 20,000 yuan from the trunk of the electric car. But Qin Si doesn't need it, and taking it out will only embarrass her. "I left a number for her. Put it in his address book and didn't tell her. Of course, I can also give her an electric car, so I don't mind walking another 5 miles. But it also makes little sense." Riding an electric bike on a country road, Li Yuan's outlook on life collided too fiercely with Qin Si's. He pursues wealth, fame, power. When encountering difficulties, fight, and do whatever it takes. I don't know what Qin Si is pursuing, but even though she is in such a situation, she is still so calm and peaceful. In Li Yuan's view, that was already a desperate situation in life. Is she not panicking? Don't want to use all means to change? How could she face it calmly? Therefore, any help he gave you at this time would only increase embarrassment for Qin Si. Li Yuan is actually very conservative. His trading seems risky during this period, but in fact he has been leaving himself a way out. Every time, he would take action only when he had the upper hand. Whenever the certainty is less than 80%, he will hesitate again and again. In fact, this is a lack of confidence in oneself and a lack of courage to face failure. After meeting Qin Si, he discovered that failure seemed to be nothing. Facing his own failure calmly was actually a kind of strength. When he came to the town, he found a small hotel and stayed. He said he didn't bring his ID card, and then wrote down Lu Hao's identity information. This kind of small hotel usually only registers for a week or half a month. It is the off-season now. If guests come, there is absolutely no reason to turn them away. He plans to go home tomorrow, and the heat is almost done. Have lunch at home and rush back to Zhangzhou overnight. As for mobile phones, after spending a sum of money, he shut down his phone. Show up tomorrow, the time will be ripe. Moreover, my parents will most likely receive the news tomorrow, just in time to go back and not worry them. If his parents receive the news today, it means no one in Zhangzhou can tell him the truth. Zhang Yuling's legs felt a little weak. She rushed to the place where Li Yuan abandoned his car last night. However, it was dark at that time, so she just searched within 1 kilometer nearby, but could not find any traces of Li Yuan. After daybreak, her vision became clearer and her position judgment became more accurate. Only then did she determine the next search direction. Unfortunately, the road was not easy to walk at first, and then she encountered a cement road, and she was unable to drive over. So she walked for nearly 10 hours. She went and asked almost all the villages within a radius of about 10 miles. If the village in front of her didn't exist yet, she would have no choice but to go to a nearby town. After all, given Li Yuan's current situation, he would most likely hide in a remote place and wait for rescue. When she saw a woman busy next to a vegetable garden, she immediately asked, "Hello, has there been a man in the village?" "He's not old, about 20 years old." The woman said, "Who are you? What are you doing with him?" Hearing this, Zhang Yuling suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly said, "I am his teacher, his name is Li Yuan, right?" "Yes." "Then please take me to see him quickly." "Is he injured? What's the situation now? Didn't he call you?" "He said he was waiting for you in town." "I do not have it." "Then you go to town, he should still be there now." "Then can you tell me about his current condition? Are there any injuries on his body?" "No. There shouldn't be." The woman quickly changed her words. Zhang Yuling was completely unaware of the problem. Hearing that Li Yuan was fine, he finally felt at ease. "Thank you then. Can we leave your phone number? If Li Yuan comes back suddenly, please give me another call." "Ah. Okay." Qin Si took out his mobile phone and started recording Zhang Yuling's phone calls. "My name is Zhang Yuling, thank you." "Oh, my name is Qin Si." Soon, the two recorded each other's numbers. Zhang Yuling didn't waste any time and continued to rush towards the town. While explaining the situation on the phone, he accelerated towards the town. "It's getting dark." She was more anxious than before. "I am deeply afraid that Li Yuan is not in town. Moreover, the town is very big and there are more people living there. Even if Li Yuancheng tries to hide, she may not be able to find him." She had never felt that 5 miles was so far away. 10 minutes later, her legs were almost numb. It was getting dark. Finding someone next will be even more difficult. If it is postponed until tomorrow, who knows where Li Yuan will go? He was obviously frightened and did not even dare to stay longer in the village. This road is quite secluded, with almost no pedestrians seen along the way. At this moment, the light of an electric car pierced her eyes. But it's a pity that it's in a different direction than her own, otherwise she could have let the other person lead her for a while. She put her hands on her knees and gasped for air. As a result, the electric car stopped directly in front of her. She thought someone saw her as a woman on the street and wanted to strike up a conversation. As a result, as soon as he raised his head, he saw the figure in the car. "Want to get in the car? Wherever you want to go, I'll take you there." As soon as Li Yuan spoke, Zhang Yuling rushed to the side of the electric car. Her legs were a little sore and she couldn't climb up, so she could only hug the trunk of the electric car. Panting, he said, "I'm not going anywhere, I'm just staying with you. I'll see who dares to trouble you." Zhang Yuling was still wearing a pair of hard-soled shoes today. Fortunately, she was not wearing a skirt because she was going to a military training venue. But they are not sweatpants, and the comfort level is average. "Then do you want to get in the car?" "Yes." "Wait a moment, I'll take a break." Seeing this, Li Yuan lowered the stand and got out of the car. He put one hand on Zhang Yuling's back and the other on the crook of her leg, and lifted her up directly. He received Qin Si's call. This also means that the things he left in Qin Si's address book were discovered so quickly. According to Qin Si's personality, there is a high probability that the phone number will be deleted. After all, she didn't want to get too involved with him. As for Zhang Yuling, who knows, she will be the first to find him. "Do you have to raise $1 from that day?" When he got into the car, Zhang Yuling put his arms around his waist and put his face against his. "Tiredness is one thing, but it feels more real this way." Li Yuan turned around on his bike and rushed towards the town, asking, "You didn't tell anyone about finding me, did you?" "I told you." She was afraid that she would not have time to find someone, so she thought of calling more people over. "Teacher Zhang, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to me as a student. But I don't trust others right now. I will send you to a hotel in the town later. I have a room there. You go in and have a good night's rest. How about you?" "Of course I will hide for a few days first. This society is too dangerous and not suitable for a simple person like me. I will feel safer if I hide. As long as I'm here, no one dares to mess with you." "Why? Are you so powerful?" "Ang, that's awesome. But I don't believe it." Li Yuan rode very fast, and after a few minutes, he arrived at the door of the previous hotel. This kind of hotel does not have a room card, only a key. Li Yuan put the key into Zhang Yuling's hand and said, "It's on the second floor. Go up and open the door yourself. I'll leave first." However, Zhang Yuling directly took his hand and said, "No, you come up with me, I guarantee no one will dare to touch you." "What a piece of shit are you? Do you think you are the king of heaven? If it weren't for the fact that you have worked so hard to walk so far, why would I bother to pick you up? I would have slipped away before you came." Zhang Yuling said in a tired tone, "Can you just believe me once? You go to the room with me first, and you will know after I take out the things and show them to you." "What? You come in with me?" Zhang Yuling pulled Li Yuan and walked into the hotel. This scene was a shock to the eyes of several people on the first floor of the hotel. Today's young people have evolved to this point? He seems a little reluctant. When going up the stairs, Li Yuan was still there and said, "Your phone call may have exposed my location, and those people may also know it. I am very dangerous now. Li Yuan just wanted to complete the show. Even a semi-imaginary enemy has reached this point and there is no way he will give up." Zhang Yuling found the room number, took out the key and opened the door directly. Then when Li Yuan entered, he immediately leaned against the door and locked it at the same time. "What are you going to do?" After Li Yuan came in, he looked at Zhang Yuling doubtfully. His posture seems a bit. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Yuling suddenly took something out of his pocket. Li Yuan's scalp went numb on the spot. "Grass. You want to kill people? Stay away from me, I'm allergic to guns. Don't move. Don't move too much. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it." Author, Lao He. Chapter 149. As a good young man in the new era, Li Yuan strictly rejects any violence. He knew he couldn't control it. Even if he conflicts with anyone, even if he has the opportunity and ability, he will never do anything to others. As for his ABS, isn't that thing just for watching? Who is a serious person who would recommend violence? But the moment Zhang Yuling took out his gun, he really wasn't calm anymore. This woman is crazy. Don't hold him back if you want. What are you afraid of? This is legal. I am in a hurry and I didn't bring my gun license. Why do you have a gun license? Is it weird? How can a girl not have any weapons for self-defense when she is outside alone? Li Yuan now understood what Zhang Yuling meant when he vowed to protect himself. As for this thing, if she really has a gun license, then few people would dare to be crazy in front of her. There is a saying that goes like this: 3 steps away, the gun is the fastest. Within 3 steps, the gun is fast and accurate. Zhang Yuling skillfully loaded and unloaded the gun, then took out the magazine and counted the bullets inside. That movement was so smooth even when Li Yuan was playing a game. Li Yuan's eyes straightened. This thing is attractive to him. More enjoyable than playing games. Zhang Yuling asked, "What? Do you want to try?" "Forget it, I never play anything I'm not sure about." Whether he accidentally fired a gun or accidentally injured someone, it was an unbearable risk for Li Yuan. "Then you can rest assured now, right? I'm here to guard you, who can do anything to you. To be honest, I'm even more worried now." If Li Yuanfan knew that Zhang Yuling had this thing in his hands, why would he still fight with her? Just look for faults. If you live your whole life, you can't bear the grievances. I dare not say yet whether I deceived my enemies this time. But he definitely deceived himself. "What? You don't believe in my marksmanship?" "No, I'm repenting for what I did before." "Oh? What did you do wrong?" "I shouldn't be petty, I shouldn't embarrass Teacher Zhang, and I shouldn't not take Teacher Jiang's words to heart." Zhang Yuling said, "What do you mean?" "It means literally." "Of course, Teacher Zhang can mean whatever he wants. I don't choose." Li Yuan could already feel his soul lamp jumping repeatedly between the Yang world and the underworld. Zhang Yuling suddenly came over, stood in front of Li Yuan and said, "I'll tell you the truth, I just like your unruly look." "No, no, no, I don't dare." "Li Yuan, when did you become so cowardly?" Zhang Yuling was a little angry when he saw Li Yuan like this for the first time. Li Yuan felt strange. Shouldn't you be happy that he's scared? Why are you so angry? Besides, shouldn't he be cowardly? Who thinks that he has a long life and spends all day fighting someone who can legally hold a gun? What's the difference between eating arsenic and eating arsenic? "Teacher Zhang, I thought about it. My home is not far from here. If I rush home now, I still have time to have dinner." "Oh, okay, then I'll go with you, and I will protect you." "Forget it, my parents should have already eaten." He was afraid that Zhang Yuling would ruin his family. Zhang Yuling looked at Li Yuan and found that Li Yuan didn't even dare to look at him now. "Li Yuan, are you afraid of guns?" "No, I have carefully reflected on it. If I did something wrong, I should have the courage to admit it." Zhang Yuling put the gun into Li Yuan's hand with his backhand and said, "Now I won't take it, are you not afraid anymore?" Unexpectedly, Li Yuan hurriedly returned it and said, "Teacher Zhang, you'd better put it away. I don't know how to play with this thing. This thing is here to protect you, not to hurt you." Zhang Yuling felt a little irritable when he saw Li Yuan's cowardly look. "I don't deserve it, Teacher Zhang. How about I treat you to a meal? You have worked so hard. If you don't want to go out, it will be the same if I buy you back." "I won't eat, I'll take a bath, don't run around, you know. Understand?" Zhang Yuling glanced at Li Yuan and entered the bathroom. Li Yuan let out a sigh of relief. He didn't want to make any move that would make Zhang Yuling suspicious, so he simply lay down on the bed. Thinking about myself, life is really tough. It seems that Zhang Yuling didn't look good to her many times. Did you scold her last time in the office? The more I thought about it, the more I felt that my actions were like bribing the Lord of Hell. Of course, it must be that Zhang Yuling doesn't have a gun most of the time, or there are some regulations on gun ownership, such as not being allowed to be exposed in public. Although he also has a gun in his hand, he will definitely not be his opponent in a real fight. After a while, Zhang Yuling came out of the bathroom. Wrapped in a bath towel, I wiped my hair. Seeing Li Yuan lying on the bed, he asked, "Is your mobile phone broken? Is the card still there? If so, I will give you my mobile phone. You can insert the card first." "No, no, I have my own mobile phone." Li Yuan took out the mobile phone he bought before, turned it on and showed it to Zhang Yuling. "Then why don't you turn on your phone? How many calls have I made to you?" "I'm sorry, Teacher Zhang." Li Yuan quickly stood up and bowed his head to apologize. "Zhang Yuling, come here to die again." She threw away the bath towel, revealing the vest underneath, and her whole figure looked particularly explosive. Compared with the deep and solemn facial features, it matches exceptionally well. Li Yuan kept looking for a gun on her body. "I just took a shower and there is no place to put it on my body. Most likely I didn't bring it out. Still in the bathroom." As a result, the next second, Zhang Yuling suddenly took out the iron lump from nowhere. Although the iron lump is no bigger than a palm, where is she hiding? He was very troubled, and there was no way to avoid his natural fear of this thing. But Zhang Yuling always liked to play in front of him. "Teacher Zhang, I know you are powerful, but that's enough. There's no need to play with guns in front of me all the time, right? Where else have I done wrong? You should criticize and educate. I accept all of them, and my attitude is absolute. Serious." Just as Li Yuan finished saying this, Zhang Yuling suddenly raised his gun and aimed the dark muzzle at him. At that moment, Li Yuan broke into a cold sweat. And his heart beat violently twice. For the first time in his life, he felt the breath of death so close to him. He stopped talking. "Close your eyes." When he opened his eyes again, he let out a sigh of relief. "Zhang Yuling, are you done? Just tell me what you want to do. I'm not in the mood to play with you here." Zhang Yuling's eyes lit up. "The taste is right. I took it out and wiped it with water. There was a lot of steam in the bathroom just now. Why are you so nervous?" she said innocently. Li Yuan smiled. "Let's not talk about whether this gun is waterproof or not, and whether it will rust easily. What do you mean when you wipe the water and point at me? Isn't it right that I'm nervous? Whatever you want to do, just say it." "I apologized when it was time to apologize. You have the right not to forgive, and I recognize it. But I have already admitted defeat and accepted the punishment. You have been holding on to it. What's the point of showing off your gun in front of me? Do you want to see me piss my pants when you scare me?" Zhang Yuling said with bright eyes, "Yes, can you?" Li Yuan glared at her, stood up and walked outside. Sick in the brain. He was about to open the door's safety when suddenly Zhang Yuling said again, "If you dare to go out, I will shoot." When Li Yuan heard this, he turned around and came to the bed. He grabbed the gun from Zhang Yuling's hand. "What are you doing?" Zhang Yuling didn't react. Especially after she saw Li Yuan get the gun, she immediately turned on the safety. The next second, Li Yuan put the gun with the safety on again into Zhang Yuling's hand, and at the same time put his head on the muzzle of the gun. "Open it. If you don't dare to open it, you're a waste. I'll shoot you and you'll die. What's wrong with death? Who hasn't died before? Don't say I didn't give you a chance. If you don't shoot now, I will look down on you for the rest of my life." Zhang Yuling put his finger on the trigger. She watched Li Yuan glare at him, and the two of them faced off like this for more than 10 seconds. Suddenly, she used her thumb to reset the gun's safety. Then, put it away. Oh, I don't dare to shoot, I'm a loser. Li Yuan directly grabbed the gun, put the safety on again, and then pointed it at Zhang Yuling. Then it's my turn now. Zhang Yuling looked at Li Yuan's crazy eyes and silently pressed his hand on the muzzle of the gun. Said, there are no bullets in the gun. I apologize to you. I shouldn't be joking with you. Nonsense, of course Li Yuan knew there were no bullets. Otherwise, how could he be so brave just now? When he arrived at the door, he saw 6 bullets on the sink through the unlocked bathroom door. The number was exactly the same as when Zhang Yuling counted it before. Li Yuan threw away the gun and said, then your joke is a bit big. Yeah, I know, how about you punish me and give me a good beating? After saying that, Zhang Yuling turned around, knelt on the bed with his back to Li Yuan, and laid his head on the quilt. Vest, safety pants, outline the body curve. Are you crazy? Yeah, you say so, I'm still a little waste. Under the same conditions just now, I didn't dare to shoot. From now on, I will be a spineless person in front of you. Didn't you say there were no bullets in the gun? There is no live ammunition, but there is also a blank round. It may kill someone if it hits someone in the face. Li Yuan. So you just said you had no bullets because you were afraid that I would kill you. Yes, I'm still a little coward. I'm very afraid of death. Call. Li Yuan sat on the bed. His legs were a little weak now. In this case, we will be completely clear. Li Yuan said calmly. However, Zhang Yuling disagreed. She turned around and protested, no. During the gun training, the instructor will give us a gun and ask us to confront him. Whoever's gun muzzle falls first will lose. And those who lose must be punished. I lost to you, and if I am not punished, I will never be able to hold my head high in this life. What kind of punishment? For the instructor, punishment is to carry out various additional training according to his requirements. As for you, I can accept any punishment. While talking, Zhang Yuling hugged Li Yuan's waist and pressed his face against it. The moment Li Yuan put the gun to her head and asked her to shoot, she was deeply shocked. When Li Yuan pointed the gun at her again, she felt that her will was completely broken. In fact, she felt that way when Li Yuan scolded her at the door of the distant building. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to say anything back. It's just that it doesn't go deep enough into the soul. In subsequent contacts, she could feel that Li Yuan's will was always stronger than hers and was always suppressing her. That feeling was a sense of security to her. She has always wanted to meet such a person since she was a child, because she has no parents. She wouldn't even smile for years. Let go and stay here quietly. I want to go home. Li Yuan didn't want to deal with Zhang Yuling's weird personality. Seeing that Zhang Yuling was hesitant to let go, he forced Zhang Yuling's hand open and walked outside. When he went down the stairs, he was relieved to see Zhang Yuling not following him. This place is only a dozen miles away from home, and riding an electric bike is very fast. But just as he got on the electric bike, he suddenly felt something pressing up on the back seat, and then his waist was hugged again. Zhang Yuling said, I listened to you and stayed here for a while. How long will your session last? You didn't say how long it was, so 1 second should count, right? And how many seconds did it take you to get dressed? Well, it took 9 seconds to get dressed, 2 seconds to collect the bullets, and 4 seconds to go downstairs. Zhang Yuling's outer shirt was not buttoned up. Li Yuan turned the switch and rushed out. Do you know the guy named Qin Si? What is her relationship with you? Did she call you and tell you that I was looking for you, so you came to pick me up? Isn't your phone always turned off? How did you receive the message? and along the way, Zhang Yuling whispered some questions from behind. Until Li Yuan couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, "Shut up." The whole world went quiet. The electric car is driving on the country road, blowing the cool night breeze, which is extremely comfortable. More than 20 minutes passed before and after Li Yao left the rural road and turned onto a one-way cement road. Then he rode for less than 2 minutes and stopped in front of a 2-story building. There is a wide concrete road in front of this house, and there is an electric car and a tricycle parked next to it. The door is open, but through the anti-mosquito curtain, the light at the door is not that strong. Just as Li Yuan stopped the car, Zhou Wan inside heard the noise and came out. Then, he saw a girl holding her son's arm. At this moment, she didn't think about why Li Yuan would come back at this time. There was only one thought in her mind. Why did this damn boy bring his girlfriend back in the middle of the night? There's nothing prepared at home. So, she hurriedly ran into the house and called Li Wanhee to come out and save her some time. After Li Wanhee came out, he saw Li Yuan walking towards him. "Dad, what's wrong with Mom? I just ran into the house before I had time to speak." "It's okay, the fire in the kitchen is still on," she's worried. Li Wanhee's eyes glanced at Zhang Yuling from time to time. "Naturally, I feel happy. This girl looks like a reliable girl at first glance. Her face looks like it has 4 big characters written on it. The country is peaceful and the people are safe. You haven't eaten yet? It just so happens that I haven't eaten either, so I have to catch up." After Li Yuan finished speaking, he was ready to go in. In the end, Li Wanhee stopped him and said, "Wait a minute, why are you back in the middle of the night? And you're riding a battery car? The school has organized a travel plan. I think it's not far from home, so I'll go home and have a look. I'll leave tomorrow." Oh. Li Wanhee actually doesn't pay attention to these at all. He was paying attention to Zhang Yuling. Why is this girl laughing all the time? Why isn't she talking? Could he be a mute? "Dad, there are a lot of mosquitoes outside." I know, why don't you introduce the female classmates around you? I haven't spoken to them for a long time." Afterwards, Li Wanhee took the initiative to say to Zhang Yuling, "Classmate, you are welcome to visit my home." Zhang Yuling smiled and nodded, then made 2 gestures. Li Wanhee's heart skipped a beat. Broken, really dumb. Looking at his father's expression, Li Yuan knew what he was thinking, so he said angrily to Zhang Yuling, "What are you gesticulating for? Can't you speak? Didn't you just tell me to shut up?" They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 150. Chapter 150. The TV series only goes so far. If you don't watch the rest, I won't learn. Li Yuan definitely couldn't tell Zhang Yuling's identity. Although this kind of thing is very common in college, the problem is that my parents are born shorter than the teacher, and no one knows what will happen if I tell them. Finally entered the house. Li Wanhee's heart felt like a stone falling to the ground. At least Zhang Yuling is not mute, but just a little, not quite right. He smiled brightly and welcomed Zhang Yuling in. Zhou Wan went into the house and searched for a long time, but couldn't find the right one, so she could only come out temporarily. She regretted a little. Zhou Ran had brought over 50,000 yuan before, saying that Li Yuan had done her a big favor during the summer vacation and that the money was Li Yuan's salary. At that time, she called Li Yuan to ask, but Li Yuan asked her to keep it. Then, she deposited it in the bank. If you don't have it in the bank, you can definitely take it out now. Generally speaking, for free love, if you bring a girl to your home, the rules in your hometown are that no matter how bad the rules are, you have to give a red envelope of 6,000 yuan, or even a 10,001 yuan meeting gift. As soon as Li Yuan and Zhang Yuling entered the room and sat down, they saw his mother sitting over with a kind smile. Xiao Yuan, let me introduce you to Mom. Li Yuan said, Mom, we are still hungry, can we say no while eating? Then, Zhou Wan winked at Li Wanhe. Li Wanhe understood and said, I will go to the kitchen to cook for you, and you have a good conversation with your mother. No, Dad, can you eat the food you cooked? Are you kidding? I was in the cooking class after all back then. I can't pick out any dish at my fingertips. I'll show you my skills tonight. Li Yuan. He couldn't bear the awkward atmosphere in the living room. So he said, Mom, her name is Zhang Yuling. We have nothing to do with her, but she insists on coming with her. You guys talk first, and I will go and fix the room. After speaking, Li Yuan ran away quickly. Of course, I didn't really run away, after all, my home is just that big. There are 2 rooms on the first floor. Because there is no insulation layer on the second floor, it is uninhabitable in this very hot weather. It is only used to store some materials for Dad's construction. Therefore, he knew everything that was discussed in the living room. Zhang Yuling was not the kind of person who had stage fright, so he quickly called her aunt. And Zhou Wan would inevitably check her household registration and so on. When she heard that she was from Zhangzhou and a graduate student, the stars in her eyes were more numerous and brighter than those in the sky. Li Yuan made the bed and quietly came to the kitchen. When I saw my father, it turned out there are really 2 brushes. The potato strips are cut very evenly, fried first and then coated with sugar. A plate of shredded potato strips is enough. I don't know what is being stewed in the pressure cooker, because it is better sealed and the smell comes out very little and can't be smelled. Rinse the pot with hot water, and then start cooking. Whether it is tossing the spoon or the pot, Li Yuan feels that his father is like a veteran. Dad, Zhang Yuling and I really have nothing to do with each other. Besides, our family is rich. Our family is like this. Aren't you afraid that others will look down on you? As a result, Li Wanhe said, she is not with us. If she doesn't like her, that's your problem and it has nothing to do with us. Then you're pretty open-minded. What if someone wants hundreds of thousands of dollars in gifts? What should I do? Just make money. You are so young, how can you say such a thing? If you think others are worth it, then you have to earn it. You can't think about feeding everything in your mouth to your mouth. At present, the only thing my family can feed you is food. Then I don't think it's worth it. That's also your business. It has nothing to do with us. We just have to do our own thing. For now, it has nothing to do with you. Why does it have nothing to do with me? She is my classmate. What does it have to do with you now? You brought her back just to meet the parents. At this stage, unless she is dissatisfied, how can you get involved? Just like cooking, you are just a grocery store. At most you can eat the food when it's ready, but you still want to take care of the cook's affairs. If you have that ability, just buy the food and cook it yourself, don't bring it back. Li Yuan. There seems to be some truth to that. But it's not that he wants to buy food, it's that he has to come with this food. After Li Yuan came to the living room, the smile on his mother's face was visible to the naked eye. After all, Zhang Yuling is a graduate student at Zhangzhou University and a future university teacher. He is also pretty. These identities are a perfect match for the current Li family. Who wouldn't be confused when looking at such a daughter-in-law? Moreover, Zhang Yuling said without hesitation that she was Li Yuan's girlfriend, and her main character was a cheeky one. Li Yuan couldn't just rush out and say it had nothing to do with her, right? Not to mention whether this is a slap in Zhang Yuling's face, even his own parents have to give themselves a slap first. Zhou Wan saw Li Yuan coming and said, Xiao Yuan, go to our room, get new sheets and pillowcases from the cabinet, and put them on for your room. New. Li Yuan has long wanted to replace it with a new one. After all, the family is like this now, and the main thing in raising a boy is to be meticulous. His bed sheets and pillowcases were basically from 5 years ago. If they weren't rotten, his family wouldn't even think of buying them for him. Although it was just a small thing, he knew that almost all boys in the village were treated this way. Yes, Yuling is here, I definitely can't let him use your old ones. Li Yuan. No, do you want her to sleep in my room? Where should I sleep? Zhou Wan said, isn't there a seat on the second floor? You are really my mother. It's extremely hot on the second floor right now. Our air conditioners are all on the first floor. Besides, there's not even a bed on the second floor. Where should I sleep? Didn't your dad pile up some boards? You can just mess with those boards and sleep on them. Later, your quilt, pillow, etc. will be put on them. Oh, then I won't live at home anymore. I'll go live somewhere else. Where are you going to live? Where can I live comfortably? Zhou Wan's expression changed visibly to the naked eye. This little bastard, is he starting to choke? What can I do if I feel aggrieved for one night? We can't let you sleep in the same room with Zhang Yuling, right? What if relatives and neighbors find out and say that their family doesn't know how to do things? Then your dad and I can sleep upstairs, okay? You sleep in our room. Li Yuan. This sentence killed Li Yuan. From a parent's perspective, that's actually true. Zhang Yuling is considered a very important guest, and he cannot be wronged. I can only feel sorry for my family first. Forget it, I'll sleep upstairs. After saying that, Li Yuan started to pack his things. Family members usually say whatever they want. After all, if you are sulky with your family members and simply increase the cost of living, it may one day turn into a family conflict. Hiding and tucking is the biggest culprit of family conflicts. After all, guessing like that is too tiring, and no one can guess what the other person is thinking. Those who say they care will naturally understand this kind of thing, and they have more or less brains. Vent your most negative emotions to your loved ones and leave your best emotions to strangers. You'll be damned if you're happy. Just smash your own tank and repair someone else's wall. Of course, relatives are really weird exceptions, and it is right to hide them. To be honest, you may not know what the other person will think. In fact, those kind of people are not considered relatives, just a group of people who make do with each other. No one regards anyone as indispensable. After everything was done upstairs, Li Wanhe's dishes were also finished. Li Yuan sat down and took a bite. To be honest, apart from the better-looking appearance and the specially designed presentation, it is not as delicious as my mother's. After all, my mother has been cooking professionally for 20 years. With my father's kind of job, she sweats profusely every day, and the food is slightly poorly prepared, and she has no appetite, so naturally her body cannot bear it. But when Zhang Yuling ate those meals, his expression was extremely exaggerated. Every bite seemed to be a peerless delicacy, and I narrowed my eyes in satisfaction. Li Yuan felt a little embarrassed, his acting skills were really not good. But looking at my parents, they seemed to be enjoying themselves. No wonder those TV series that are so embarrassing that they can dig out 2 rooms and 1 living room can make them watch with relish. After dinner, Zhou Wan helped Zhang Yuling adjust the water heater and get her clean towels and slippers. Li Yuan didn't want to watch these scenes, so he washed himself in his parents' bathroom and went upstairs. Although the second floor is a bit hot, he could feel that his parents had not been this happy for a long time. Even when they were admitted to college, they never experienced this. In his previous life, he was not very successful and had high standards, so several rounds of blind dates at home were unsuccessful. My parents are very anxious. Seeing that they are already 30 years old, the pressure is increasing. They seem to have a certain mission on their shoulders. When they get married and have children, that mission will be completed. At that time, He didn't understand. He felt that even if he was forced to get married, what was the point? Everyone in the family is unhappy. Even now, he doesn't feel that getting married is necessarily a mission, but he can understand it. After all, the two generations have different concepts. We cannot expect our parents to recultivate their learning ability and integrate into the lives of young people. Even with their smartphones, they can now only make and receive video calls. Typing relies entirely on the handwriting function, and more often than not, they can only send a 60-second voice message. That sounds like a lot of effort. He turned off the airplane mode on his phone. In fact, he had seen a lot of the information before, but only in airplane mode. Basically, after a while, airplane mode will be turned off, wait until the information is loaded, and then turn it back on to read all the information. Lots of information. First of all, Gonkingtian Capital knew the situation. Wen Yuxian knew the situation. There were also some unfamiliar numbers, and he couldn't tell who they were. Most other people are still unclear about the situation. Xu Yanlin must have sent herself a WeChat message, but she didn't log in or reply. At this time, he received Zhang Yuling's message, which had just been sent. Li Yuan, are you asleep? Sleep, good night. As a result, less than 2 minutes after Li Yuan's news was sent out, Zhang Yuling tiptoed to the second floor. The sound of stepping on the stairs is very soft. Seeing the environment where Li Yuan was sleeping, there was just a broken fan clanking over there. She walked over and said, I'm sorry, I was embarrassed to refuse at the time. Now you go down and sleep. I'll sleep here until the day comes, change it back when it lights up. Li Yuan said, what are you doing with all that effort? Let's go and sleep together. Ah. Are you afraid? Are you afraid that I will do something to you? No, 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 I mean, is it really okay? I like your home so much. Zhang Yuling's eyes showed expectation, and Li Yuan felt that she was not pretending. What is there to like about my family? Isn't it good to have food cooked by my parents, and people to chat with, and to be as willful as I want without being blamed? It seems really good. After all, Zhang Yuling's focus is different from others. What is normal to others is a huge luxury to her. As a grandfather, Zhang Yuanqiao found it difficult to give her parental love. After all, he was separated by another generation. Although they were very concerned and cared about, in fact the age gap between the two of them was so big that they couldn't even think of being together. Love in Zhang Yuanqiao's eyes means having money to spend and not being bullied. Love in the eyes of parents must be more comprehensive and considerate. Then come downstairs with me. Walk. Li Yuan really couldn't stand this broken fan. It's hot when it's not turned on, and it makes a clanking sound when it's turned on. When he got downstairs and entered his room, feeling the coolness inside, Li Yuan ran directly to the bed. Zhang Yuling quickly came over. You really dare? Of course I dare. Forget it, I'm tired. Li Yuan directly covered his head with the quilt. Zhang Yuling slipped in from one side of the quilt and shouted in Li Yuan's ear, husband. This sentence is obviously different from when I was acting before. Zhang Yuling, what do you think you are trying to do? I haven't thought about anyone to marry for the time being. Originally I was interested in you, but now I want to be interested in your parents. We will discuss whether we get married or not. Let me be your daughter-in-law for a few years first. Huh, let's agree on one thing first. What's up? From now on, I am only allowed to point my gun at you, and you are not allowed to point it at me. Understand, understand, I will definitely be obedient. A few seconds later, Li Yuan suddenly encountered something. What's that behind you? Gun. Can't you take it off? No, you must put it on your body before going to bed. Li Yuan finally knew where Zhang Yuling hid the gun every time. There are special pockets for guns in the back of people's clothes, and you can't even see them when standing in front. Then be careful. Ang, but what to do next? Please teach me. No, weren't you very skilled just now? With that sultry voice and the movements of her waist, he believed Zhang Yuling even if he said he had gone to study. The TV series only goes so far. If you don't watch the rest, I won't learn. Another bedroom separated from the living room. Zhou Wan and Li Wanhe tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. Li Wanhe said mysteriously, over there, Zhuanzi, let me tell you something. I found that Xiao Yuan is a little different from that Zhang Yuling. Why is it unusual? Zhang Yuling seems to listen to Xiao Yuan very much. What do you mean? Isn't it obvious? She was the one chasing Xiao Yuan. What's going on? There is no such thing in our Lao Li family. No, tomorrow I have to take Xiao Yuan for an appraisal. I find more and more that he doesn't look like my son anymore. My son can't be so good. Sorry, I have been out recently, and the coding time is not fixed, so I did not save the manuscript in advance, so the update of the first chapter is always irregular. It will be normal after 2 days.